Yes, y'all. We're back. It's another Saturday night. Therefore, it's another Saturday night Shoot the Breeze. I would like you to drop a one. If anyone's out there, drop a one for me. Let me know that you can hear my voice. In the meantime, what I'd like to do now is just let you guys know what we have in store tonight. By the way, hit the like button as you come in. Hit the like button. Share the link to Facebook and X or Twitter. Let your folks know on Instagram what you're doing this evening. Also, hit the Cash App, hit the PayPal. Thanks for those folks who donated this week. I do appreciate it. Hit the Cash App, hit the PayPal. Link is in the description. With that said, let's talk about what we have in store for tonight. Tonight, we're going to try to answer our African Americans, the colonizers, too. We're going to talk about Bilal. I forget his full name, but he was an African or black equals African slave. And we're going to try to answer, was Bilal freed from slavery? Or was he bought as a slave into Islam? This is an example of the Arab religious lie. We're going to try to answer, is Black YouTube going down the toilet? I saw someone talk about this week. Could have been Afro Think Tank. Shout out to Afro Think Tank. Is Black YouTube going down the toilet? We're going to try, we're going to look at how Haiti helped to create the USA. I know a lot of people really don't like that topic. How Haiti helped create the USA. We'll talk about that tonight. And this was a carryover from last week. We didn't get to this topic. Name one of the top 5 coons of the 21st century and why. So I want you guys start putting your list together. Top 5 coons and why you think they're one of the top 5 coons. They could be from any part of history, recent or further back. That's fine. Oni is out in the chat. He said he typed 1 so he can hear me. Appreciate that. What we'll do now, we'll start the show officially. On the other side, I'll welcome in any and all of my panelists. I'll welcome any and all folks in the chat who introduce themselves, as well as drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1. So what I'd like you guys to do is stay tuned as we officially start the show.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Make sure you're also tuned in to Brother Bakari's podcast, the Forecast Radio with Realm in the Bush. Make sure you tuned in to Kofi. And let's send some encouragement to the Harsh Reality podcast for them to come back soon and start doing shows again. I know it's been difficult because El Miguel, the co-host with D-Web, I think is still across the pond, as they say. So, let's try to encourage them to come back sooner rather than later. Make sure you subscribe to all of the shows mentioned, and make sure you're active on the channels when they go live. Make sure you're there, man. It'll be nice to see some of you folks in the chat when the rest of us are there supporting. Without further ado, let me welcome in my panelists so far tonight. We got Buana. Buana, how are you this week?
1, 2, 1. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm good. Cool. Yeah, shout out to Tony.
You're cracking up a little bit now. You're cracking up.
You serious? Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'll go on my laptop. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, cool. In the meantime, let's welcome in our boy Oni from the Pro Black Perspective podcast. Oni, how are you this week?
I'm cool. Just shout out to my brother Buana from down in Langley. just
Oni, I saw this comment you made in the chat. I thought it was interesting. You said YouTube asked if you appreciate their recommending this channel, the Bitter Medicine Podcast. And then you said when you click the homepage, it then made you fill out whether it's novel, charming, informative, or all. And you gave the biggest smiley face. I wonder if anyone else has had that same experience. Only you want to talk about it real quick before we start the show?
Oh, yeah. So when I went on the homepage, it was hard. It was hard to write in that, small chat window. But when I went on the homepage, there was, it said, "Hey, do you appreciate this recommendation over here?" And it was your video. So they gave you like 5 choices, smiley faces, whatever. I gave the 5-star, obviously. And then they were like, "Oh, is it novel, entertaining, informative, whatever, charming?" And so I clicked on, the things that apply, informative, entertaining, charming, that kind of stuff. And then I hit submit and they were like, "Thank you." So, hopefully that puts it in the algorithm, like, keep watching. But I think if I'm not mistaken, it looks like it might only show up on the homepage. Like what Takru was saying, it might only show up on the homepage. So I'm just like, maybe people want to go to the homepage, see what Wagwan, and hopefully, this means that the algorithm's not, you're off the blacklist. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me just say, it's guys like yourself, Buana, Bakari, Kofi, who's a recent addition to KWAZ Radio, Real Black Gentleman, and the list goes on. It's all the Black Steel, of course. It's you guys who really make the show what it is, because you guys are the ones who give your informed opinions, and I really do appreciate all of your participation. Shout out to Takru Tori. He's been in the comments for a couple of weeks now. I guess you finally made a live, so I appreciate you being here. Shout out to Marcus Gavia's the way. Haven't seen you in a while, sis. I hope all is well with you. Good night to you. Hopefully you hang around. Maybe you'll even hang out with us tonight. Takru also said greetings to those who received them. I will receive it. I hope others will as well. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you guys will stick around and let us hear your commentary from the chat. Also, shout out to Daily Affirmations by Pauline, my homegirl there. From the hometown. Good evening, she says. Good evening to you as well. Thanks for coming through. With that said, Buana is back. Buana, how are you this week?
I'm great, Koku. I'm hoping I'm very clear. I'm hoping that you can hear me, you and Oni. So, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Buana. Buana, I sent you a message. I hope you got to see it.
Okay, I'll check it out later.
Okay, we'll chat about it later. Yeah, that's great. Thanks to everyone who's here so far. If you're listening, make yourself known in the chat. It's only polite. Let us know that you're here and join in the discussion as well. Without further ado, let's drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1. I think we're going to have a good show tonight. Make sure you guys drop some reactions, drop some emojis in the chat. Let us know you're enjoying the conversation. Shoot the Breeze, topic number 1 says, are African Americans the colonizers too? Very interesting question. Are African Americans the colonizers too? This takes us to a tweet from Donnie that says black people are colonizers now, and he has the crying face emoji. So this is a very short clip. I'll play it twice so that we could fully get it.
Black people also wear a uniform and get on a plane and come to our countries and kill us. You vote the same fucking melanated fucking people into government that signed papers to kill us. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it. You are our colonizers. I do not want to fucking hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm done. Black people also wear a uniform and get on a plane and come to our countries and kill us. You vote the same fucking melanated fucking people into government that signed papers to kill us. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it. You are our colonizers. I do not want to fucking hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm done. Black people also wear a uniform and get on a plane and come to our countries and kill us. You vote the same fucking melanated fucking people into government that signed papers to kill us. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it. You are our colonizers. I do not want to fucking hear it. I don't want to hear it.
So I had to play it a few times. Let's see if there's more to it because it's such a short clip. I guess Donnie post something else. It says, good night. He says, black people really live 24/7, y'all heads. Y'all will call us every name in the book. Y'all will throw us in at the forefront of any discourse. And y'all always be the first ones to indulge in anti-blackness when it fits your narrative. Black people, really the blueprint. For some reason, he posts a white guy doing some bullshit dancing here. But our black folks, the colonizers too. Takru Tori asked a question. I was wondering, where is she from? Like, who is this person? Where is she from? Earlier he said not colonizers, but historical victims and beneficiaries of imperialism. Trigger Happy 262 is out there saying peace, peace. He says the person who made this video, is she currently residing in her country to make this strict dichotomy? I also think she isn't keeping in mind other arguments. So this is an interesting one. I've had this conversation a while back when Oni, myself, the Harshali podcast and the Matron, when we used to do Twitter spaces, we had a space one evening, and a black American made the comment himself about how, you know, a lot of these shitty deals that are made in the continent, in the Congo, whatnot, are often facilitated by black Americans. I recently had to tell someone, you don't find, you know, African soldiers killed in America. You will find black American soldiers killed in Africa, which is interesting. But are African Americans the colonizers too? I had never really thought about this, except in some arguments about Liberia, but I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts as well. Let me start with Buana. Buana, what say you?
Koku, that is an extremely difficult question to answer, and I don't want to be offensive to anyone, but just for the continuity of the show's sake, I will try to do my best to answer this question. African Americans, in some regards, are colonizers. Well, they are working on at the behest of colonizers. Do they feel, or do they put themselves in a position of colonizers? Some do. Some do. And if you look at the scenario historically, up to this point right now, you could make that argument, because when people was to think back, there was this group called the Buffalo Soldiers. The Buffalo Soldiers is who Bob Marley sang about, by the way. You know, They were working on behalf of the United States government in clearing territory, Western territory in the Americas, in terms of killing Indians and destroying Indians. Not only that, you have scenarios where you see Liberia, some native Liberians would suggest that African Americans, when they came there with ideas of the Western mindset or Westernized mindset, and they attempted to enforce those principles on the native peoples of the world, not necessarily work alongside them. So some would say, well, their actions was consistent with colonization, American colonization, but just with a different face. And then you have instances where you have Grenada, where not only when they invaded Grenada, not only did white servicemen, military servicemen from the Americas invade Grenada, but also black servicemen as well. They invaded that black country. Not only there, they invaded Haiti as well in 1915. They don't only send white military Americans to invade and try to enforce the principles of Americanism. They also send blackface African people. This is why in Vietnam, the Viet Cong was trying to tell the African Americans who was fighting on the side of the Americans, this is not your war. Black man, go home. So this is a very, very difficult discussion. Even today, you have a gentleman, his name is General Michael Langley. General Michael Langley is said to go in with the use of AFRICOM, going into Africa and undermining African governments. They use black faces. Well, the American government, when it comes to nations of color or black nations, they use black faces to do these kinds of things. They use black faces of people to do these kinds of things. So when you see a person like General Michael Langley, he is not going there to fix Africa. He is going there on behalf of American interests, which is by and large white interests. So that could be perceived as colonial. But there are some people who are what do you call it? UIs. That's people who don't necessarily know. They're just ignorant and they just going out to receive a paycheck. Useful idiots. They just acted on behalf of their countries or their government, thinking that they're being patriotic, but really you are doing some certain things that's very colonial to the native peoples of other in the black world. You are doing things that's untoward, and because you're not political, people use you as useful idiots all around the world. You proud to adorn the American military uniform, not understanding what you are actively doing. I used to like James Bond. But James Bond is a character who is an agent of the United Kingdom's government, and his thing is to promote UK or the United Kingdom's interests throughout the world. So if you want to, they was clamoring for. I remember they was clamoring for Idris Elba to become the new 007. But to say that Idris Elba is a new 007 is Idris Elba would have to be a British blackface colonizer. So you have to really get into understanding what it is that blackface people are being used to do throughout the world. And that's the question you must ask. And some people are innocently doing it, some people are ignorantly doing it, and some people are very intentional in the things that they do. Very intentional, man. But I would say for the people who are doing it intentionally and they know the politics behind what they are doing, I say that they are African American colonizers, for the African Americans who are actively doing that. And it's not only African American colonizers, it's other kinds of colonizers, because I consider the people who fight, black folks who fight in the British Army, who carrying across British interests across the world, they are colonizers as well. It's a sticky argument, very sticky argument, bro. Very sticky argument. But I'm curious to know how other people would feel about it. I'll stop right there.
I appreciate that, Buana. Let me just read some comments in the chat because there's something I think we need to kind of get to. In the chat, Trigger262 Plus says, we all need to be careful on the Liberian talk. I don't think anyone on the panel should talk about it unless there's thorough research on the topic because it's much more complex than we make it. See, this is why I don't even bring it up anymore, but this is why someone like Trigger Happy then should come on. If you feel that we're not research enough, then you should come on the panel and enlighten us a bit, but I won't even push that. In the chat, the pro-black perspective does only says those are pro-Liberian rhetoric. Liberia is a straightforward case of settler colonialism. He only goes on to say, UNIA member went and saw firsthand African Americans were enslaving natives, which was my understanding as well. But okay. Trick Happy says to Oni, if that's the case, I'm not sure we can say Liberia touches Israel. I've seen some make the comparison, but I want to do research to consider the pro-Liberian side. Oni replies, it's not Israel, but it's settler colonialism. So I want to throw it to Oni, and I have a few questions for Oni. First, Oni, do you know where this woman in the video is from?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess she's Palestinian. I'm not sure, but I think this video surfaced during the whole basically because Kamala was because Biden stepped down, the Democrats kind of pushed for let's distance ourselves from this Palestine stuff and drive a wedge between black people and or African Americans and Palestinians. Basically in order that Kamala could secure the election, that kind of stuff. So I think she might be Palestinian, and who knows, she could be from Langley Halls as well. Langley, as well. Just picking a fight with, trying to drive the division. But I don't know. I can't tell. I mean, obviously, because for some reason, I don't know if people notice, but Arabs and Latinos look the same, and I think it's because they're both like historically, mixed people. But I don't know.
Appreciate that, Oni. So, Oni, you heard what Buana had to say. You see what the chat is saying. What are your thoughts on this overall idea of Black Americans or African Americans, colonizers too? What say you to it?
All right, so I would say, I think that's the trouble with. That's why I said, it's in order to analyze things, you really got to distance yourself from, for what it's worth, African Americans. I no disrespect, but what I mean is that it does cloud up your reasoning because one thing I could say is this: there's three groups that if you say, if they're like, oh man, the world hates me, everybody's jealous of me, and I'm the best and I'm the greatest and blah blah blah, right? There's three groups that come to mind when you say that, right? Obviously the small hats, right? Obviously the white Americans, the Americans generally, and of course the African Americans, right? But one of the things that when you're in this school of thought that African Americans tend to propagate, it's this idea that they're the victims, they're the intersectional, they're the and like I said, the small hats do it too, right? But they're the intersectional victims. They're different. The world hates them, blah, blah, blah. And if you get into Black consciousness, African consciousness in that way, you kind of say, you know what? But they're the wronged party here. And of course, African Americans are generally not as wealthy as white Americans, right? But they're still the most wealthy Black group on the planet. You know what I mean? But I'll say it this way. What makes a people a colonizer, right? Now, of course, I don't go into the name calling to say one person's a colonizer, one person isn't. But what makes a people a colonizer, right? Is it that they are boots on the ground in a foreign country, right? All of them. Because if it's 100% of them boots on the ground in a foreign country, no, African Americans are not 100% boots on the ground in foreign countries. However, neither are white Americans. Right? The truth is that there's nothing that white America, like if you think white Americans are colonizers, there's really nothing that white Americans do that black Americans don't. And as far as like military participation is concerned, black Americans participate more. Right? Why do they? Who freaking knows? You know, like who freaking knows? I don't know. But I could tell you, in fact, I'll tell you guys a story of this brother. You know, I used to organize back in Brooklyn, right? And this brother tells me when he was like, he's from Trinidad, right? And so I don't know if it was in order to get citizenship or some shit, but he ended up in the U.S. military. And what happened in the U.S. military was they asked him, they said, would you be willing to invade Trinidad, right? If American, if the military duty calls for it, and he told them no. And so they dismissed him. Okay, they said, okay, well, you can't be in this military, right? Basically, what that tells me is this. Now, of course, not literally, but what this tells me is that they asked that question of every freaking black American, and every black American says yes. You understand? Because what his reasoning was, no, I'm not going to invade a black country. Now, of course, I'm not saying you should invade a Arab country or whatever country, under the banner of America, right? But that's the truth. And again, it's not just black Americans, obviously, because like I said, I have a relative who, he's obviously Jamaican or something, right? And he was in the U.S. military, and yes, absolutely, he wanted to go to Iraq to kill terrorists. In his own words. Now, are these people terrorists when you go into their country and they're resisting your invasion? No. But his mindset was, yes, I got to go over the other part of the world and kill these people. Is he a colonizer? So I would say, yeah, I think that one of the things that we tend to do is we tend to say, we try to give excuses for what people are voluntarily doing. Obviously not every black American is doing this, but then again, not every white American is doing it either. But if I were in the position of this lady, let's say if I'm in Palestine, or let's say I'm in Somalia, or let's say I'm in Nigeria, or I'm say wherever, right? And I look at black faces doing what the American government is telling it to do, right? Then absolutely, I'm going to take the position of, well, these people are not necessarily like hands clean innocent. Now, maybe the vast majority living in the hood or what have you might be, but then again, when we talk about, well, what other thing do quote unquote colonizers do? And that's, reap the benefit, reap the reward, right? And of course, America is consistently putting up blackface when it comes to, like who does what vote, where does what, who's the judge in this situation, who's that, who's the military advisor, who's this, who's that, in Africa and black places and the clothing, overall, I would say, look, your complexion is not the end all be all, not all skin folk or kinfolk. And I think the question really, it comes down to, well, what about, like for instance, the police? You look at a police officer. Is he not a police officer because he's black? Come on. So I think, obviously you can't go by 100% or universal, but I do think that, that's pretty much my view on that.
I appreciate that, Oni. Yeah, there's some interesting conversations in the chat going on. Trigger Ivy 262 plus. I think the issue with the whole topic too, there is settler colonialism, internal colonialism, and exploitative colonialism or extractive colonialism. Black people are not settlers, but experience internal colonialism. Takru says.
Yeah.
Takru says, Trigger Happy 262 is cooking. By the way, shout out to Real Black Gentleman who said, y'all not going to say the only black people who went to Liberia were African Americans. That's not what's being said. But I think Oni makes a good point about something. A colonizer never meant everyone had to go and settle and colonize. In fact, when I look up the definition, it says a country that sends settlers to a place and establishes political control over it. So that leads me, I know Buana wanted to add something, but let me ask this question and Buana could add his point to it. How do you define, or how should we define colonialism, period? Buana, go ahead.
No, I think Trigger Happy did make some distinctions when he gave the nuances of colonialism, but when he says that black people have not been settlers, well, how do you describe the country of Liberia? The country of Liberia was settler colonialism, brother. That was settler colonialism, and it is right when RBG says that you can't only pin, and we're not trying to do that RBG at all, but you can't only pin what happened historically on African Americans, because there were Caribbean people within that faction who went back to Liberia. But I would also add as well, when Haiti was invaded by the United States of America in 1915, a lot of Black Americans stayed there for a very long time, very long time, to ensure that Constitution was enforced. So I don't know if you want to put a time on how long a person was to stay in the area to call it settler colonialism or not. But I think that there is instances where Black people have been settlers. I would consider them to be settlers in Haiti in 1915 and what they did, and also in Liberia. I mean, that is just a historical fact, but I can't get around it. I wish I could, but RBG is right. RBG is right. I wouldn't only pin that historically on just African Americans. You had a contingency of Caribbean people who went to Liberia as well. So I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, only same question to you. How do you define it, colonialism overall? I know you spoke about it, but how would you succinctly define it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, the thing is this. America's a settler colonial project, and like Buana was saying, the Buffalo Soldiers, right, were just taking over the freaking Native American land. Obviously, like it goes back to this quote by Carter G. Woodson, where he says the eighth wonder of the world. The eighth wonder of the world is how are African Americans so docile? And he's like, people from Europe, people from all over the world go to the United States to study why in the world, like how in the world did the white American make a African be that docile? No disrespect, right? Obviously, right? But what I'm saying is that it really doesn't make any sense why they were. I mean, it does make sense. It's like, all right, this is what you have to do to survive. But then it also becomes, well, sometimes you either sometimes you have to I don't even know. I guess it's kind of like we just got integrated into the project, and it's now. I think what it is that America is such a large country that we kind of inflate the importance and relevance of African Americans, right? In the sense of maybe proportionally, African Americans are maybe the same as the Black population in, let's say, Venezuela. But for some reason, because Venezuela is not that large, I guess, I don't know. Although it is pretty big, but because it's not that large, and the it's like nobody really cares. But that's kind of how it should be, generally. But because African Americans are such a huge population, 40 million, they completely outnumber almost every other group in the Western world, right? Because of that, we kind of put some more importance to them. But realistically, it's this is a group that, for the most part, it's hard to say. It's hard to give a whole broad brush because, again, there are isolated areas of Black Americans who have nothing to do with white Americans. Then there's also groups of like, let's say isolated groups of African Americans who are just like dick riding, you know what I mean? like white dick riding, you know what I mean? But I think so. Sorry, as far as the colonization question is concerned, like it seems like America is a colonizer, and at least at this point in time today, Black Americans are like in quasi partnership with white Americans, or like very supportive of white Americans, you know. And I think what this lady is saying, because again, one thing that we always know, like we all know, is that African Americans have a disproportionate participation in the U.S. military, right? So whereas they might be like, let's say 14% of the population, you know, this was like, you know, they say 20 years ago, right? 40% of the population, they might be 20% of the United States soldiers, right? Now, of course, you know, we tend to look at it as, well, it's a good financial opportunity. It's a good economic opportunity. Sure, right? But okay, like you're still flying across the world and, you know, terrorizing people for the American agenda, you know? So it's like, and again, you know, if they aren't flying across the world terrorizing people for the American agenda, some of them are, you know, terrorizing people across the street or being terrorized by people who look like them. So it's really like it really is that I think African Americans are in a pretty bad position. And I think that, but I think that you can't, like, I think that at this point in time, with the access to, like at this point in time, with the access to wealth that African Americans have, versus, you know, any other time in American history, I think you really can't, like the excuses that would have worked 40 years ago just don't apply, you know? So if America is a colonizer, and if you are, in fact, you know, America's bed buddy, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're a colonizer too. You know, there's just no ways around it. And I think this lady, you know, because like I said, I think she might be Palestinian. Like Black Americans supporting the Israeli flag are pretty common. You know, it's not even like, it's not like social media will tell you, you know? And I think that's the outrage that this lady is going at. But yeah, yeah. So I do think I do think that it would just kind of be, it's just kind of awkward to say, oh yeah, this white American is and this Black American isn't. And because, you know, this Black American is being forced to do it, because it's like, maybe you could say that 60 years ago, but with how integration has progressed, it really seems apparent that, you know, Black people don't have a separate political agenda from white America.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you said just now. I just want to make this clear too. This is not a shit post, because this is not about shitting on Black Americans, by the way. What this is really about is recognizing that you're a participant in these colonial projects. Whether you want to call yourself a colonizer or not, you are a participant. And the idea that, because I think it was Takru who brought it up, that is a socioeconomics thing. Hey man, like Oni just said, in this day and age, you got options to not go. If Muhammad Ali could have taken the L and not gone, right? He said no Viet Cong ever called him the N-word. You can do the same thing too. And I think it's time, you know, I think it was Buana who mentioned it when he first started coming around Shoot the Breeze. He said a lot of that stuff is our participation. And all I want to say for this prompt is we got to stop participating. And we got to identify when we are participant or not. Marcus Garvey's always said only pale-faced colonizers. And I get that. But if you are working with the colonizer, just like if you're working with thieves, you become a thief too. You know, if you're working with murderers, you go down for murder too. So we got to be just honest about it. And again, this is not a shit post. This is just more so wake up. You know, when you're out here riding hard with this American flag, you are riding hard with the foreign principle, with foreign activities of America as well, and that tends to turn people off, especially Black folks in other parts of the world who are affected by what America has done worldwide, right? So I just want to make that very clear. This is not downing Black folks. This is just to say, hey, let's not participate in that project whatsoever, especially directly in that way. With that said, and I'll try to read more comments if I can. But with that said, let's welcome in our boy, Real Black Gentleman, RBG. How are you this week? Unmute your mic, brother, if you're talking.
Hey, yeah, I'm good. You know, and just along with this topic, you know what I'm saying? Let's just keep it clear, this whole like colonization thing, right? You know, what was it? You have you know, a whole bunch of the British, and when the British and all the you know, European powers went into Africa during their colonies, they built up whole troops made up of Black people, like the West African Expeditionary Force, or you know what I'm saying, all these forces that the colonial powers did to, like, they gather them up and move them intercontinental. Let's slow down with this whole like, well, Black people's like the only Black people under a white flag that done, you know what I'm saying? You can look at it, a lot of the I'm sure it could be documented during the First or maybe Second World War, just like they had the Tuskegee Airmen in the United States. I'm sure a lot of other countries had their own little relative colonial white connection, had troops fighting and bombing, and you know, so let's slow it down a touch and broaden the perspective just a little bit. That's all I'm going to say. Now, it don't make it right. You know what I'm saying? In hindsight, and naturally, you know, it's not good for African people. If we want to have an African that is as African as we want to be, to even like, we got to naturally precipitously decline from that. And yeah, even though the United States is the biggest country with as far as, you know what I'm saying, army, and that, yeah, there are a lot of Black people in that army, like, it's not going to be like that forever. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? I would say that if you know what I'm saying? I would say trying to, you know, go back to motherfucking the boxer, my bad, Muhammad Ali. He clearly, you know what I'm saying, famous entertainer and all that, actor. He was like, no, I'm not fighting this white man's war. And there's a lot of that streak in Black America. We're clearly like, no, man, I'm not fighting this bullshit. That is not like a minor thing. Even though, yeah, there's a lot of Black people, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Make sure when you hear that, you in your mind, like, make sure, how Black is these people? Is they Black, or is they Blackish? Like, you know, it is what it is. Like, don't let this woman with this crooked septum ring in her nose. You know what I'm saying? That could be a fake little magnetic anything. I wouldn't give any credence to what she said. Why? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even brought this up to discussion. Not from her perspective, because we out here having tension about, you know, our Black people colonizers, and they go in an army. I mean, when you put in perspective, yeah, a lot of other Black people went into a lot of other Black people's countries, so to speak, and see, that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna mute the mic.
I appreciate that.
RBG. Yeah, RBG. I don't think that. See, we was just trying to answer the question. Okay, the question specifically asks, is are Black American colonizers? And I said, let me defend myself. I said some. Just as what you say is true too. Some Black people in Africa, they gone into Africa and fight with colonial armies. That is a fact, especially the French. A lot of Black French, a lot of Blacks, you know, they went into Senegal especially. They had a military force of Black contingency, a Black military, where they used to go and subjugate other Black people. That is a historical fact. And also, there are black people represented in other westernized colonial armies. That's why I said some. I would never say all. So just as you have some folks who would do a particular thing in one instance, in one part of the world, you would have that going on in other parts of the world. But I think that the question asked is, are African Americans colonizers too? But if they was to even broaden this question, say, are African people sometimes colonizers? I would say absolutely. Two things can be true. You know what I mean? But we ain't attacking by no means all African Americans. We attacking the actions of some people who have intent to subjugate other people, and they don't have a geographical they ain't specific to one geographical location. They could be in America, they could be in England, they could be in France, they could even be on the continent itself. So I just was specifically answering this question, and I just said some people, because not everyone is one thing. So I don't want you to believe that we are attacking African Americans, by no means. If the question was changed a little bit and broadened, we would have examples for everybody else as well. So whoever put this prompt up, I don't know what their intention was,
Yeah. Look, actually, I forgot to mention before RBG came up. Shout out to RBG, by the way. But before RBG came up, I was thinking there was this, I think it was Martin Delaney. Martin Delaney went to Africa, and he said he gave one of the most interesting observations on the continent, which was that when the ships arrived in Africa, but for the people that don't know, Martin Delaney was active during the enslavement of African people in America, right? So when he said when the ships went to Africa, when they reached the coast, the entire staff was African, down to the, from the captain to the, whatever. And that was because, Europeans couldn't stand the sun or what have you. And I think when I looked into it when I was younger, I learned that there was a certain ethnic group that was able to navigate the rivers pretty well. So like, let's say historically before, the Ma'afa, right? African, Africa used to trade with each other, down, from the top of the river to the bottom of the river. And there are a certain ethnic group that would, be the navigators, if you will, right? And the way how the story of this ethnic group goes is that this is the only ethnic group in West Africa that was never enslaved, right? Because they were pretty much responsible for transporting Africans from the interior of Africa into the into the onto the coast, right? And of course, like I said, the people who were operating the ships in the coast were African people too. Long story short, I think one of the reasons why I would say, yeah, African Americans are colonizers is to say that you have to pay attention that historically what ruined us were collaborators. Okay? And if we are of the mind, hey, you know what? We either have an excuse to be collaborators, or we aren't collaborators at all, right? We are we're going to make the same mistake that our ancestors did, right? Because honestly, if in fact, Martin Delaney observed this. He said, if Africans, right, on the continent stopped collaborating, the slave trade would end. Okay? The slave trade would not continue without collaboration from, and I tell you, that same brother I told you about from Trinidad, he was a cool brother. He would tell me, look, if you look at African American neighborhoods, right, how when the police siren comes on, or when the police are chasing somebody, kind of everybody cooperates with the police. We get out of the way when the police car is coming through. And of course, if the policeman says he wants to run through our gate in order to catch a suspect, we open the gate for him. The idea is that even to this day, we are still collaborating and cooperating. And I mean, it's not just, our military participation, it's our tax dollars. It's our, if you got a really good idea, I'll tell you guys, when I was younger, I came up with this really good mathematical concept. Okay. In fact, if you guys get the Book of Power, you'll see I did a summation for factorials. Okay, so like 5 factorial, 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. I represented it in a arithmetic summation. Pretty interesting stuff. But when you find out something like this, right, which is useless, obviously, but when you find out something like this, your first thought is, how can I give this to the white man? And so I said, I'm not going to do that. That's why it's in the Book of Power, and that's why I get no credit for it. But the reality is that the position that a lot of us find ourselves in is that we are absolutely contributing to the advancement of white America, day in and day out. When you watch, movies like, I didn't watch it, but when you watch movies like Hidden Figure, you're like, oh yes, this black woman, she's so smart, she did this. You're talking about black people who are able to help white people going to space when black people are not able to go to space. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yes, you are absolutely collaborating, you're absolutely advancing white people, you're absolutely collaborating, whatever, right? And it's to your detriment. And if you're not willing to say, you know what, actually, let me not help this colonial project. That's the reason why I went to astrophysics. I'll tell you guys. The reason why I went to astrophysics, because I said, I realized that almost everything inside the American country was supporting its military industrial complex. And I said to myself, let me find some field that cannot be weaponized. And then while I was in my, PhD studies, I learned that America, like NASA, big space company, right, was taking photographs of the Congo in order to send soldiers over there to, find out where the minerals were. So as to say that every single part of this American project is operating toward the military industrial complex. And so, yes, sometimes, like I said, 40 years ago, 80 years ago, you could have said, look, we're here, but we can't leave. Because that's what they say Jamaica stands for. Jamaica, they say it stands for, we're stuck here, right? Absolutely. You can say, I couldn't leave 50 years ago. But today you should try to divest, in the words of that, or you should say, let me leave. Right? And that's it. Toku says astrophysics, satellite communication, information superhighway. Well, what my astrophysics was actually like intergalactic studies. So it was like really stellar dynamics of galaxies. Like it really, really had nothing to do with anything. But at the same time, it was like, but yeah, absolutely. The white, but that's the whole point. That the fact that America is weaponizing everything, and then there are some a lot of African Americans who are really, really pushing the boundaries. Like when you go to college, when you go to grad school, and you write that paper, you are advancing the American project. Now, obviously, I'm not saying don't go to grad school. I'm not saying don't blah blah blah. But what I'm saying is that you have to bear in mind that absolutely, your contribution on this earth is advancing white America. And of course, if you're advancing white America, you're not advancing Black Africa. That's it.
Yeah, that thesis goes into a library. Only on the screen, Trigger Happy 262 asked this question while you were giving your response to it. He says, if this is the argument, then would it be fine to say that Palestinians in Israel are also colonizers within the state of Israel, considering they would have to also pay tax dollars to Israel? And he adds that when I mean Palestinians in Israel, that these are actual Palestinians living in Israel as opposed to the West Bank and Gaza. What say you to that quickly?
Well, again, so that there's a there is that, like I said, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, if you told me African Americans, African Americans were like forced to be here. You get what I'm saying? So it's different if you're forced to be there. So what happened in regards to the Palestinians in Israel, if you will, is that really there's no Israel, obviously. I shouldn't say that because I got neighbors, right? But really they are like it's Palestine, and then Israel were the colonialists. So it's like if I don't know, like let's say if let's say Mexico invaded New York somehow, whatever, right? And then there was a Mexican government. Obviously, if I continued to stay in New York, I would pay to the Mexican government. You know what I mean? Like I'd pay taxes to the American government, the Mexican government. I wouldn't necessarily be the colonizer in that respect because I was already living there. You know what I mean? It's the same with like African Americans in the sense that they were, you know, forcefully brought here. It's only a question of, well, if after all said and done, if you get your freedom, right, and then you decide, okay, I'm just going to, you know, stay along, I'm just going to play along, and then I'm going to help the, you know, like for instance, if you're a Palestinian and then you start helping Israel develop weapons, and then you start helping Israel, you know, fly into space, and you're not doing anything for the Palestinians, you know, obviously, you know, if I were a Palestinian, I would look at you like, what the fuck are you doing? Like you are, like you've become an Israeli. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I think that's where it comes down to with African Americans, to say that, yes, absolutely, you know, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, you could have said, you know, so on and so forth. But at some point, you got to say to yourself, well, if you are advancing the American military industrial complex, if you're creating new weapons for America, if you're doing this, if you're putting all your life, you know, if you're doing all that, you know, you can't necessarily, you know, just say, well, you know, but they're being forced to do it. You know what I mean? Like with the example of the Palestinian in Israel, like again, he's literally in his country, and then there was another settler that came in and went over them. That's not the same as because you can't expect everybody to fight. You get what I'm saying? You can't expect everybody to fight to the death at every 5 seconds, but you can say to yourself, well, what are you doing with your life after you know 10 generations? When are you gonna say, okay, all right, this is not me? You know, when are you going to separate yourself? Is really the question. That's it.
Right. So I'll give because I want to move on to the next topic. I'll give Trigger Happy 262 the last word from the chat, and there's a bunch of comments. I try to put them up on the screen. Shout out to Provide Triggers for Evolution who joined us. Trigger said, I think if the prompt is to stimulate African Americans to make a choice and choose the African world, good. If the prompt is to antagonize African Americans as being uniquely guilt in world crimes, that's just incorrect. Yeah, by now, Trigger Happy, I would say this, that you should know that it's the former and not the latter. It's the former, not the latter. There are other comments in the chat. You guys do, if you listen to the playback, check out all the comments in the chat. But for time's sake, let's move on to Shooter Breeze topic number 2. I want to thank everyone who joined us tonight. Much thanks to Takru, Tori, Trigger Happy 262 Plus, as well as Provide Triggers for Evolution. Much thanks to you guys for being in the chat, being active. Make sure hit the like button, share the stream to your social media, invite others to join the conversation.
Koku.
Yes,
Koku.
sir.
I don't mean to interject. There's one thing I wanted to add on to what Oni said about the spy satellites on the Congo. Now you do realize that they have something called the Nancy Grace Space Telescope going up. That used to be a spy satellite. They have satellites that are as good as the Hubble Space Satellite, and they're basically spy satellites. If you could turn the Hubble Space Satellite around to Earth, it could be just as good as these spy satellites. That's all I wanted to say. Go ahead.
No problem, man. No problem. Should we start with number 2 says, was Bilal freed from slavery, or was he bought as a slave into Islam? This is an example of a lie told to serve the Arab religion. So this came with an attachment. By the way, this attachment is from the Discord. You too can have your Shoot the Breeze topics discussed if you join the Discord. The link is in the description. Join the Discord, navigate to the Shoot the Breeze channel, and you can post your topics. Make sure to post a prompt that's, you know, a sensible prompt as well as an attachment that takes us out of YouTube or Twitter or what have you. So this image that was added to this prompt says the Prophet Muhammad also freed many slaves during his time as well. Specifically, one of the companions, Bilal Ra, the one who gave the first call to prayer. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am not an Islamist, never really studied it. You know, my one little interaction with Islam was really through the NOI, and my early admiration for them was really due to the parts of NOI that's inspired by Gaviism. When I started to learn a lot of the methodologies, so to speak, that they have, including the assassination of Malcolm X, I really don't mess with the group. And I really don't know nothing about doctrinaire Islam. So I had to look up, because this prompt doesn't give any background. I had to look up who the hell is Bilal, really. And I found this video. So I'll play it for those of you who are like me, who are not familiar. Let me just share this link to YouTube. It's about a 6-minute video. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss.
Bilal ibn Rabah was born into slavery, a condition that was compounded after he became one of the first believers to follow the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. Bilal's father was an Arab slave, and his mother was a former princess of modern-day Ethiopia, who was also enslaved. Bilal was ruled by a master who punished him for his conversion to Islam. He dragged Bilal around Mecca, encouraging people to mock him. He even tried to force him to renounce his faith by placing a large rock on his chest and pinning him on the ground. But far from renouncing his faith, Bilal showed a defiance and strength in the face of persecution and violence. Impressed by Bilal's steadfastness to the Islamic faith, Prophet Muhammad sent one of his closest friends, Abu Bakr, to pay for Bilal's freedom. Once freed, Bilal rose to prominence in the early Muslim community. Prophet Muhammad appointed him to serve the mosque by using his melodious voice to call the believers to prayer. Bilal was a black man, and for some, his blackness made him unfit for such an honor. On one occasion, a companion of the Prophet, a man named Abu Dar, disparagingly said to Bilal, "You son of a black woman." This drew a swift rebuke from Prophet Muhammad. "Are you taunting him about his black mother?" asked the Prophet. "There is still some influence of ignorance in you." The ignorance the Prophet identified was rooted in the misguided view that a person's race reflects his or her moral character or social status. In fact, the Prophet's message of racial equality stood in stark contrast to the prevalent racial animosities of 7th century Arabia. Scholars refer to the period prior to the advent of Islam as Jahiliyyah, a time of ignorance, which included racism. Arguably, Prophet Muhammad was the first person in human history to declare, in no uncertain terms, that no person is above another by virtue of race or ethnicity. This declaration is crystallized in one of the Prophet's notable speeches, his last sermon, as it is known, which was delivered on Mount Arafat in 632 AD. In that sermon, the Prophet unequivocally condemned racism when he said, "All mankind is descended from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, and a non-Arab has no superiority over an Arab. A white person has no superiority over a black person, nor a black person has any superiority over a white person, except by piety and good action." Ever since then, Prophet Muhammad's teachings on racial equality have inspired human beings to strive for racial equality and justice for all. Consider the life of Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, more commonly known as Malcolm X, the Black Muslim civil rights leader who battled racism in the 1950s and 1960s. After performing the Hajj, or Islamic pilgrimage, to the city of Mecca, Malcolm wrote his famous letter from Mecca, in which he said, "There were tens of thousands of pilgrims from all over the world. They were of all colors, from blue-eyed blondes to black-skinned Africans. But we were all participating in the same ritual, displaying a spirit of unity and brotherhood that my experiences in America had led me to believe never could exist between the white and the non-white." He added that he had never before seen sincere and true brotherhood practiced by all colors together, irrespective of their color. The Hajj for Malcolm represented a shift away from racism and towards racial equality. The teachings of Prophet Muhammad encouraged all people to strive towards anti-racism, which is quite different than simply non-racism. While non-racists do not openly express prejudiced views, they also do not work to dismantle racism in any given society. The Prophet of Islam actively challenged and dismantled the covert, the overt, and the systematic racism around him. He identified racism as a symptom and identified its root cause as arrogance in the human heart. As our world becomes more and more diverse and interconnected, it is imperative that we strive to follow the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. I am not a Muslim myself, but I have to say that I am deeply inspired by the anti-racism of Prophet Muhammad, because he showed that a person is distinguished over another not by race, but rather by the quality of one's character and conduct.
This guy made Muhammad out to be like MLK. Ty Cruz in the chat cooking, he said he name dropped Malcolm. This is too much. I felt that way too, and this is why I intentionally put this video up. Shout out to Wisdom Bars out there in the chat saying, wow. Ty Cruz putting up the crying emoji. He said, "This is wild. The Arab world was one of the last places to abolish slavery of Black Africans." And, you know, we often don't talk about the 1,000 years or so that we were under Arab slavery before this white man, right? Ty Cruz says, Muhammad owned slaves. He said, Muhammad did say this too. I found this in my cursory research earlier. He said, Satan looked like a Black African man. I saw that just today. He called Black folks raisin heads, which I think might have been mentioned in this video. So with that said, there should be a decent conversation here. And again, if you want to join the discussion, just click the link pinned to the top of the chat and you too can have your voice heard. RBG, you said something here. You said, Odd Wirafo said otherwise. Talk about your thoughts on the prompt and what you mean in this comment.
Okay. Basically, you know, there's a website. There's a brother who is strong on the African history. You know what I'm saying, from a chemist perspective. You know what I'm saying. He blasts, you know what I'm saying, everything, and you know what I'm saying. He had they might still be up on YouTube. You know what I'm saying. To me, Islam in and of itself, I consider it, if Christianity, I think Christianity is like 3 karat gold. I know that there's black stuff in it, but there's a lot of like filler metal in there. It's really not really gold. It's like 3 karat gold. You know what I'm saying? Islam is fool's gold. You know what I'm saying? I mean, fool's gold can take you to gold, but it's fool's gold. It looks like gold, but it's not really, you know what I'm saying? It's not really anything in it. So like this whole Bilal thing, the whole, like, you know, the token Negro, you know what I'm saying? It's like really, are we really going to use Bilal to like say that, you know, Bilal and the stories but the prophet said, I mean, not Walter Williams. Was it Walter Williams? I think it was Walter Williams. Was it Walter Williams? The historical origins of he had a 2-series book of the historical origins of Islam and Christianity. And he just broke down like there's no image for instance of the prophet. So like when people try to describe the prophet, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't really do it because there's no image. You know what I'm saying? It's clearly like a white person, right? But it's like, you know what I'm saying? The whole history of Islam in and of itself, I always find questionable because I'm pretty sure that like Islam ain't nothing but like that's a Caucasian move. They went down south. You know what I'm saying? It didn't spring up from Mecca. They try to play Mecca to be the starting point. So they close to Africa and they got the connection, right? But nah, like historically, I'm starting to see like that comes out of the Caucasus-ish region. You know what I'm saying? That to me, to the best of my knowledge, you know, after what would that be? Eastern Rome fall? You know what I'm saying? That's Eastern Rome, and then you know Islam fills in the void. You know what I'm saying? Turkey, you know what I'm saying? Iraq, Syria, Jordan, all that shit, all up in Egypt. You know what I'm saying? They just swamped that area. They didn't swamp that area from Mecca. They came down south. And you know, it's just I just see the book itself wasn't written until like the 1900s. Like the Quran was just not really established until like the 1900s. So for real. So like I mean, it's just that's just nice little a lot of people have books and interpretations, but that wasn't compiled until, you know what I'm saying, only like 100 odd years ago. There's a lot where, you know, I don't do Islam. I don't do it. I see people's behavior. I get some things, but you know, I see it, but nah. It's like, you know, a lot of the Sharia law, I could never do that to my people. I can never execute Sharia law on my people. You know what I'm saying? I understand like women, you know, and all. I could never put my peoples under a wrap like that. I could never do anything close to that. I can never acknowledge that. I can never do that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's things where it's like, it's ways of going about, you know, I'm not going to Mecca. I'm not going around there when I know they ain't got no facilities. And I hear about all these stampedes and people dehydrating and shit. And I know I'm black. I could never do it. They say you only got to do it once in your life. I could do it 0 times in my life. I don't want to be a Muslim. I wish it just like when people like break down to other people who are Christians and they lose their religion because it's like you just pick apart. You give people the history of a book and you show them the book and you show them flaws. And once you get the big pieces, all the other pieces just fall away. It's the same thing with Islam. If you can just like break down that like a lot of the timelines, a lot of that stuff isn't real. And they a devout Muslim and all that, a lot of that will fall away. It's like, you know what I'm saying? That's to me is the only way to dismantle, you know, these Abrahamic, these textual, these books and all that. Just go through the timeline of history in the book that they say what happened, because it's supposed to happen so long ago. It's like the Council of Nicaea, you know what I'm saying? They figured that stuff out 300 years after the dude was supposedly alive. You know what I'm saying? That's a grip ago. You know what I'm saying? It's people don't have hard recollections of things 300 years ago. Certainly back then they didn't have no kind of paper or no really like newspapery type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Media of any kind, printing press. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want to say. Like ain't no Bilal. He's a character. It's all lie. Don't fall into Islam. That's just me. I'm not mad at Islam like that. For black people, that's not it. That shit don't come from us. That's all.
I really appreciate that, real black gentleman. I shout out to Brother Bakari, who's out there in the chat. I was wondering if I should choose violence, and he chose it for me. I had the same thought Bakari had. This guy in the video, he name drops Malcolm, as Bakari says here. And Malcolm ignored racism in the Arab world, like most black Muslims do. That's something I really don't vibe with either. You know what I mean? Trighappy262 plus in the chat says, what you witness with this video is that the Ummah has to maintain a cosmopolitan community of diverse people on face value, but underneath the surface, they maintain strong Arab supremacy. You know, there's a lot of good chats going on in the chat. I can't read all of them. But if you listen to the playback or if you're here live with us, make sure to check out all the comments in the chat. Good stuff going on there. With that said, let me hear from Oni on this one. Oni, hold on. Let me try to find the actual prompt real quick. Was Bilal freed from slavery, or was he bought as a slave into Islam? This is an example of a lie told to serve the Arab religion. What say you?
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I don't know who these people are. Wait, who? I didn't even tell you the video. It just seemed like, I mean, the video seemed pretty straightforward. I was surprised the dude's not a Muslim. I also take issue with the whole, I mean, this is the thing that I've noticed before. I told you, well, I said it before that one time there was this Kenyan sister, really intelligent Kenyan sister who was in my organization. And she was saying that she converted to Islam partly because these Arabs would walk up to her and say, hey, you know Malcolm X? Well, you know, found some truth in this thing. So, you know, part of it is, you know, just good propaganda, right? You know, you like Malcolm X, guess what? Malcolm X was a Muslim. That's why I would personally detach myself from, you know, these religious groups. But as far as, like, again, I don't know who Bilal is. Was he free from slavery or was he brought? I don't know. I don't know if it's even a lie. But yeah, black people should not be in this in these foreign religions. I'll just put it that way. I don't actually know what else to say. I don't really. It seems like seems like a question for like
you're good at you're good at talking about propaganda. You recently talked about Renee's propaganda. What's the Arab propaganda going on with this alleged example of a black man who was brought into Islam, a slave, brought into Islam, and Muhammad goes on this whole thing talking about the equality of races and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I noticed, because I don't know if you guys know. Apparently, I mean, I one time had a debate with this Muslim guy, and apparently it made some circles, you know, among the Muslim community, to the point where somebody, I one time told them I had a video, and they were like, "Oh, you're that guy." But anyway, yeah, I mean, like, you see that whole, oh, we are about, you know, race equality, so on and so forth, but the source that I used, I can't remember what was his name, but I think it's like, I don't remember his name, but Islam is an Arab supremacy religion. And I think that you kind of could pick it up when you see Muhammad himself say, oh, there's, you know, Arab is not superior to the non-Arab, and the non-Arab is not superior to the Arab. Like, why did you specify Arab if it's not about Arabs? Right? But like, oh, and of course, like, to Brother Bakari's point, when Malcolm went to you know, the Middle East, he was very, very curated in where he could go, but they were openly selling human beings, like, just like three blocks down from where he would you know, observe. So as to say that it is ridiculous for a black person to be a part of any of these religious groups. And you know, I'm reminded of the reality that you know, even other demographics go to these religious groups. You know, so like we were talking about the Native American, the Native American who converted to Christianity, he's also being ridiculous. But the African especially is or not especially, but the African is ridiculous as well, as long as they are in these religious groups. And believe me, most Africans, whether they are in the diaspora or on the continent, are a part of these religious circles. You know, are part of this religious group. Obviously, Black Americans, obviously Jamaicans, obviously Haitians, obviously. But on the continent of Africa, like for instance, Tanzania, I would say 45%, no, let's say 48% are Muslim and 48% are Christian. To the point where when I was filing out a police report, right, because I had to do that, right? When I was filing out a police report in Tanzania, on the police form, they asked me what my tribe was and what my religion was. And when I told them I don't have a religion, they said, that's stupid. You got to have a religion. I mean, I would say my lawyer said that, but it wasn't my lawyer, it was my friend. But they were like, come on, you can't not have a religion. So as to say that, yes, absolutely. Like this video. I mean, I'm surprised the guy wasn't Muslim, but this video just serves a purpose of saying, Islam is anti-racist, and if anybody's not, this is the first person who was anti-racist and all that kind of stuff, and it's obviously bullshit. This was an Arab supremacy religion, and what's more, giving Muhammad the credit when I think that. Obviously I don't think Jesus was real, but Jesus said the same thing, about the race unity, blah, 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 to blindside us. And even before that, like I said, the Amenhotep IV, probably the source of all this sort of thinking, he said this. Now, I put Amenhotep IV in the category of a race traitor myself, right? So I'm not saying that he was good or bad. I'm not saying it's good credit, but what I'm saying is that, obviously, a lot of religion or a lot of propaganda, a lot of misinformation, it preys on ignorance. It preys on a lack of information. So when you hear this white guy in a suit tell you, "Oh, I'm not even a believer, but this is the first person," yeah, okay. The only person that believes that is somebody who doesn't know better. And so I'm just kind of telling you guys, well, when you know better, don't buy the bullshit. That's pretty much it.
Only before you go, Takru in the chat wants to know of you and Tragapi, actually, what are your experiences with Black Muslim women? Well, what are your experiences with Black Muslim women?
Shit. Now let me tell you all this though, for real. This is one thing I noticed, man. When you go to Africa, man, you can get some Muslim women, man. Like in America, you can't, man. They're just like, oh, no, I don't want to think. But in Africa, you can. It's pretty fun. And so I'll tell you guys this too, that the woman I'm marrying, she's Muslim. And I don't really like that about her. But again, when you're in Africa, it's like they're either going to be Muslim or Christian. And I guess the credit that the Muslim woman has is that she doesn't mind. Well, not just that she doesn't mind having another wife, although this woman does now. But anyway, but they are also like pretty damn faithful, So you could leave them alone, and they're not looking at any other guys. They're not even thinking about it. And they're a lot of them are on the traditional demure type women. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect because you're gonna have your Western, your Westernism, but if you could avoid that Westernism, like if you could get like a traditional woman, that's gonna be good. And I'll put it this way too. I'll just add this too. So this woman right here, because we're getting married, she gets to go to a somo, right, which is basically someone who could teach you the African. Teach a woman femininity and how to please a man, how to do well in the house, how to treat a man, how to look at him, all that kind of stuff. But what's interesting is that these teachers, the Somo, is not coming from an Islamic faith, right? So it's coming from a traditional African faith. So it's to say that even though she has that, the stupid Islam, no disrespect to my lady, right? Even though she has the Islam, she also is getting an indigenous African womanization process that is pretty damn good. Like, some things that some things that you kind of figure out in your life, they're kind of giving, and I don't want to, obviously I shouldn't talk about, secret stuff, but, one of the things was something along the lines of, we all know this one, but so that's why I'm saying it, right? But you know, one of the things was something along the lines of, you know, you really shouldn't be talking about your man to other people. You know what I mean? Among other things. And of course, they also showed her dances and different sex positions and sex techniques. And I'm pretty excited to go back to the but anyway, but yeah, as far as my experience with Muslim women, oh man, they're great, man. I didn't even know. Thing. And also, of course, shout out to Somalia because they got some nice looking women as well. That's it.
Appreciate that, Oni. Trigger Happy says, yeah, many black Muslims syncretize. They have a lot of rites of passage that are just African. From naming traditions to funeral rites, we should use that to our advantage. Takru says he regrets asking. I don't know why. I thought that was pretty interesting response. You know what? Let's welcome in our brethren, Anthony McPhail. Anthony, how are you this week?
Hey, how you doing, Brother Coco?
I'm good. Thanks for coming through.
All right, man. And peace to all the other brothers on the panel, man. The brothers and sisters. Yeah, man. Hey, man, that dude, oh, they crazy, man. Man, I just only great. You can't be laughing. But yeah, man. That was some of the funniest shit I've ever seen, man. And you know, it's like it's at the right time too, man. You know, with this whole Palestinian thing going on, the Israel-Palestinian thing going on, and you know, they had this woman last week. Koku, did you see where the Palestinian woman was calling black people in America colonizers? Because did you see that?
We discussed that in the previous prompt. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I just got home, man. I ain't know it.
That's fine. That's fine.
You know, I didn't know. But yeah, man, I remember Dr. John Henry Clark said, Islam is the handmaiden to Arab imperialism. You know what I'm saying? The first thing that the Arabs did when they invaded Africa and they encountered African people was to destroy African. They declared war on African culture. They declared war on our spiritual systems, on our culture, on our language. That's why, I mean, you look around and you got to change your name to an Arabic name. You got to learn how to speak Arabic, you know, as well as embracing Islam. And then they put the whip in your hand and make you go and convert the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? So, and I was thinking about that, what y'all was talking about Brother Malcolm. Okay, I always thought about that too. I say, Brother Malcolm, okay, now, you know, remember Malcolm was first introduced to Islam by the Nation of Islam, the black Muslim faith, so-called. So, you know, he didn't really have the real Muslim faith. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, after he started traveling abroad to Africa and to the East, and then he encountered Arab Islam. And so he said, well, damn, you know, this one the real thing. And so no, he embraced the Orthodox Islam. But like I'm saying, for all those trips, Malcolm made many trips to the East. I know good and damn well Malcolm seen the racism in the Arabic world. But what I think is that Malcolm was being political. You know what I'm saying? I think he was being political. He knew that there was racism in the Arab world. That's why when he made his speech about putting your religion in the closet, you know what I'm saying? That's why he was talking about, hey, look here, they don't hey, the white people don't kill us, they don't persecute us, they don't discriminate against us. They don't do all of the bullshit they do to us because we Muslim, nor because we Christian, or because anything else. They do it to us because we black. And I think that was one of the reasons why he said that. Because I think that Malcolm, he knew when he went on Hajj, he knew when he was going in those particular countries in the East, in Asia. He knew that there was racism among the Arabs. He knew that there was racism. But you know, it's always, you know, some Arab, politicians or whatever, who met Malcolm, they say, well, you know, he's a black guy, he's the guy from America, and you know, we on this anti-American thing, or whatever. So we gotta present Islam and present the Arab world a certain way to Malcolm. You know what I'm saying? To get him, to buy into what we talking about. You know, to sort of put a black face on this thing. You know what I'm saying? To include them in this. But I'm saying I think that Malcolm knew that there was racism in Islam. I mean, and yeah, Islam. I mean, to me, the Arabs. To me, I mean, the Arabs are as much racist, even more racist than the Europeans. I mean, they neck and neck because the shit that they did to African people was deplorable, man. I mean, you know, I mean, it's as deplorable and even worse than what the Europeans did. And I'm not gonna say which one was the worst. They both was bad. They both was horrible. I despise both of them. But I'm saying, the shit that they did, you know, and then the trick that they played on black people's minds into making us think that Islam was something cool. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've met brothers in prison. I've met brothers throughout society. You know, hey, assalamu alaikum, my brother, and you know all of this old bullshit. You know, like you know, like Islam is something that make you seem conscious or something, and make you seem aware. You know, and sometimes I think it's just like we just rebelling against the Christian stuff, you know, against the stuff that we've been used to. You know, Islam's something different without us knowing really what Islam is, without us knowing really what Arab history and Arab culture is. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, we latch on to the first thing that was against American white Christianity. But no, man, they both the same, man. Both of them rotten to the core as far as their relationship with black people, with African people all over the world. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when the Arabs first encountered African people in East Africa, they had a word that they called us. They called us, and that word was, they called us Kafirs. Kafir, Kafirs. You know, that word translated to the Europeans in Southern Africa. What they call black people in South Africa, Kafirs. You know, Kafir originally meant like an unbeliever. The unbeliever, or in another word that it meant was a savage. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this was something like a declaration of war on the African being, on the African humanity. We'll say, so yeah, man, I don't want to prolong too long, but yeah, you know, that's my thoughts on it, man. I'll knock off.
I appreciate that, Anthony. I like something you said there too, which is true. I think a lot of African, black people's African people, because they despise Christianity, they went to anything but Christianity and Islam, especially in America. That Islam thing was a good alternative. So I appreciate your response, Anthony. With that said, let's hear from Buana on it. Buana was Bilal. Well, before I go to Buana, let me ask Anthony real quick. Anthony, are you familiar with this Bilal story in Islam?
Yeah. Bilal, the first muezzin of Islam. You know, the Ethiopian brother. You know, I was reading. I had a Quran back in the day. You know, because my first indoctrination in the country was that black Muslim faith. Okay, so brother gave me a Quran, and it was a story. I can't remember what surah it was, but it was what Muhammad was talking about Bilal, and it said how Bilal, and it's true. I heard you mention about the thing where Muhammad said like the Negro's head, the African's head was as hard as a grapefruit. You know what I'm saying? What he was talking about was Bilal. When they first brought, because Bilal was brought there as an enslaved African from Ethiopia, what they call Abyssinia at that time. Well, when he was trying to convert Bilal to Islam, Bilal didn't want to go for it. And it's a scripture that said that when he cracked Bilal over the head with a cane, with a stick, and that Bilal said, Ahad, Ahad, which means one God, no, Allah. Yeah, so that was my story about Muhammad and Bilal.
Appreciate that, Anthony. Yeah, I just was checking the temperature, see if you was familiar, because I really wasn't.
You already knew Anthony was familiar. He's encyclopedia.
Yeah.
I won't pull.
Go ahead, Buana.
Yeah. No, I won't pull when he code on something. Bro, you marrying a Muslim woman, right? You're atheist man, no problem. But just hear me out for a minute. Buy a book called Islam for Dummies, because you are marrying a woman who was raised in a culture and mindset and she is going to do things or have a particular mindset that you will not understand because you know nothing about the religion at all, bro. And religion for Islamists is a way of life. That's just and they're indoctrinated by that from very young. So it'd be wise, in terms of good social cohesion, to just I'm telling you, I ain't simping. I'm saying that study up on the religion. You don't have to be a Muslim. I'm saying that studying up on the religion is to understand the thinking of the woman you're about to marry. And I think that's intelligence on your side. You know what I mean? Just hear me out with that. But let me just say this. I knew Bilal. I to my time, in terms of trying to find knowledge yourself. I gone through many different kinds of religions, Christianity, not really Christianity, Islam, Rastafarianism, and different. So I learned different things. I know, but Bilal was, as Anthony was saying, was the first Muslim, the person who was do the call to prayer. He was the first person to initiate that, and Muhammad had good things to say about Bilal, basically saying that he would even reach Jannah, heaven, before Muhammad would. So he had very good things to say about the mind. I just feel like where the racism comes in with this, the mindset of a lot of people who follow the religion of Islam is that when they refer to Bilal, they always refer to him as a slave. He never transcends that position, even though throughout his life he did many other things besides just being a slave. A slave is where you found him, but he eventually became so much more than that. So to continuously to refer to Bilal as a slave, to me, is like to refer to Malcolm X as Detroit Red. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, he was Detroit Red, but he eventually became so much greater than Detroit Red. But it seems like the Arab Muslim community, always, and even the Black, always want to refer to him as the slave of Islam. You know what I mean? I'm like, why do you want for him to carry that ball and chain when he was freed from slavery? I don't understand that. I think that I have an axe to grind with the Islamists when they have that mindset. But let me say this too: there are some good things that I have found in Islam that I didn't grow up in, because the Bahamas is a Christian community. But they have found some, in particular, their reference to education and study and intellect, the mind intellect. I think that is a good thing. I think that is a good thing. Not just spirituality and jumping around and emotionalism, but really trying to emphasize strengthening the mind's intellect. That was my draw to that religion. Even though I had to come about it, that was my initial draw to that. But I would just say that I think that when the Muslims, in particular the Arab Muslims, always refer to Bilal, he is always relegated to the fact that he was a slave. But you don't, I might have started as a slave, but I don't always have to continue as that. So I think that is an unfortunate thing. White Arabs try to put on Bilal, and what they do in term, because Bilal is really just an analogy for one big Black Muslim throughout the Black world. And I think that that's what they categorizes as, to stay in that position. But I think that is an unfortunate thing with Islam. I don't really care for. But just to be brief, I'll leave it there.
All right, Buana, I appreciate that. Is there any last thoughts on this topic by anyone? Oni had a comment in the chat where he said, and I actually agree with the brother. He said, where is it? He said, man is leader. She should study atheism, not me studying Islam. Only, you want to expand on that real quick?
Yeah, that's why I said that brother was simping. I mean, because that's the thing. It's like, if you have a belief system, right, and you're a man, like if you're so I have an interesting relationship with this woman where I'm positioning myself as the provider. You know what I mean? Like, I buy the house I buy the house. I pay the bills. Whatever, right? The point is this: if you are the leader, if you're doing all this stuff, and then you're also saying to yourself, "But I'm going to learn your faith," right? You're not representing. Like you're not dick swinging. Let's put it that way, right? And that's the thing about being in Africa is that you get permission to dick swing. I don't mean to be vulgar. I'm sorry, but you get permission to be a damn man. And part of being a damn man is saying, you know what? I know what I believe, and you're going to come around to me. You know what I mean? It's you're meeting me where I need you to be. It's not even like I'm meeting you halfway. It's like legit. This is what I'm going to hold you responsible for teaching our children. And honestly, I don't even want to see that other stuff. And I know that's kind of cold, but but like that's the way of the world, right? It doesn't make any sense for you to, as a man, pay all the bills, buy everything, do all that kind of stuff, and then turn around and say, let me bow to your God. You know what I mean? Let me bow to your God, or let me learn about your God. I don't believe in your God. And I don't think your God, I think your fiction story, I think your fantasy story is not worth my time. And if you want to be with me, no, we got to go on a different speed. So, it's not the best story, obviously. And obviously I don't take this exact tone with her, but that's what I kind of meant when I said, one was simping. And because a lot of men are encouraged in the Western world to kind of, I don't know, just not assert themselves, to not be men, to kind of like follow the leadership of women, and actually inside of America, it's so freaking bad. It's like so bad, like legit. But because of that, it's like, no, the responsibility, if you're actually financing another person's life, like they have a bigger responsibility in trying to conform to you than you to conform to her. And actually, I'll put it this way: it's pretty actually interesting because I had this conversation with my son's mother, right? So she's always rude to me, right? Well, not always, but she was, right? She's kind of rude to me. So what happens is that she writes a letter she writes a letter. She says, hey, can you check this and see if the tone's all right? And of course the tone's not great. She's telling her boss, like, oh, I think you should check into this thing because blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, that's not a great tone. You shouldn't do that. And I said, but I'm surprised, you're tone policing. I didn't even know that was possible. And she goes, well, yeah, this woman helps me to have, put food on my table. You know what I mean? This woman helps me, she's like, the reason why she was more rude with me because I at the time I wasn't, doing well. I wasn't, what I'm saying? Like, let's say we both had to work. Let's put it that way, right? And because we both had to work, it was like, yeah, motherfucker, who the fuck is you, right? But I'm not going into this situation in the same way where it's like we both, splitting on the bills. You get what I'm saying? I bought this big ass house. I got all the stuff done, all that kind of stuff. I don't have to meet her halfway. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing that I encourage men to do. Come again?
The American slave master had the same arguments. He said to the slave, I provide the food for you, I provide the clothes for you to put on your back, and I provide the housing for you. Therefore, you must subjugate yourself to my rules. But the reality is the slave, even though he was subject to the slave master, had an opinion too. Therefore, we are the beneficiaries of those Africanisms that he would have kept coming from West Africa to the American continent. And that's what that is distinctive and different than us than the whites because we kept the Africanisms that we brought with us, even though he had the same exact arguments. I house you, I clothe you, I feed you. The slave always have an opinion. And in the situation that you describe it right now, despite the fact that you may be the person providing economically for that woman, she will still have an opinion. And where's that opinion going to come from? Her independent opinion going to come from? How she's been conditioned from very young. Yes, you provide her all her physical, tangible needs, but she'll always remember, where she came from. And she'll instill, if you all decide to have children, when you are not around, providing for all these things, so you'll be busy at work. She'll be making sure to say, yes, we can do it any Oni's way, but these are some things that I believe to be important to me as well. You can't take the opinion out of the woman just because you provide the material and tangible assets, bro. It's not gonna. Well, it's been my experience that that's not gonna work.
Yeah. Well, no. I agree with you, kind of. Well, not really, but I kind of do. But what I'll say is this: that doesn't, like, again, you have to do what you want to do, right? And the reality is that, yeah, absolutely, she could, go behind the back and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna teach you kids to, pray every, pray 4 times a day, whatever, right? But basically I told her not to, obviously. And I mean, if she does that, I could always just vocally be against it. The whole idea, vocally and loudly, and maybe even have consequences. The point being that, yes, I mean, you putting out, oh yeah, the Muslim, the whatever, what do you call it, the slave master did the same thing. Yeah, okay. The reality is that you don't want to be in a position where another man is providing for you, and you're a man. But if you're a woman, yes, you do want to be in a position where a man is providing for you. And absolutely, and that man is not supposed to be turning around for your misguided beliefs. And again, I'm only really putting this emphasis on misguided belief because she's a Muslim. Okay? If she was in a traditional African spiritual system, I might be hearing her out. I might look into it. I might do it from an anthropological point of view. But Islam is an Arab supremacy belief system, and I let her know that over and over again. Now, of course, she says, no research, no right to speak. So maybe I might, do a little research, just have a right to speak, apparently. But again, But again, if you like, I've studied the matter, okay, and I know it is a Arab supremacist belief system. Okay. And I know I'm not Arab. So absolutely not am I going to say, okay, let's put this in our household. Let's do this. Let's respect it. Let's so on and so forth. I tell her, you know what? If anything, she could do that because she has a son of her own. She could do that with her son. I'm not going to encourage it, but she could do that with her son. With my son, no. And for our future children, absolutely not. And I think that's what men have to do, or men should do, is men should say, hey, look, I'm not like this is an Arab supremacist thing. I don't believe in it, and neither should you. And if you do somehow believe in it, keep it to your kid, pretty much. That's it.
Appreciate that. Oni, is there any last thoughts on this prompt by anybody? If not, what we'll do is we'll just go right into Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 for time's sake. Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, and this is a good topic. I think we're all familiar with Black YouTubers. Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 is Black YouTube going down the toilet. So I'd asked folks to drop an emoji that describes, in essence, how they feel about tonight's conversation so far. A few of you did. If there are any others, please drop it. But this is a particular topic that I think will be a good one for you guys to really express your thoughts on Black YouTube via emoji or just by straight up commentary. This came with a link that takes us back to Twitter again. And it takes us to this video, I guess. Is this a video?
Majority of his content.
So what we'll do, So what we'll do is we'll watch it. This is a video from Cooley Bravo that says, "Bro is fed up." So what we'll do is we'll watch it and then we'll discuss it. It's about a 2-minute, 20-second video.
Just revolve around 20v1s. Like if we look at his last 12 videos, you can see that he did nothing else but 20v1s. And before the 20v1s, this man was basically just doing the find your matches and putting his friends on freaky blind dates. Like he was basically just doing this cornball content pretty much. And I guess 20v1s got super boring, so he just had to spice it up by adding children to the mix. You may be thinking like, oh Cam, you might be overreacting, you know? No, maybe this 20v1 isn't that bad. No, it's exactly what you think. This is a children's dating show. This man literally held a children's rizzing competition. This is not the TikTok Riz party. This is the YouTube Kids Riz party. None of these kids are over the age of 13 years old. What was going through this man's head when he was thinking of this video? Man, 20v1s are getting dead, man. Let's add some children to the mix. Like, bro, what the heck? What's crazy is this man also added boys to the mix to make it seem like Lil RT was there to find friends, when we know the true intentions of this. Like I said, this is a children's dating show. This freaky ass cornball got a room full of kids to try and rizz up Lil RT. Is that not weird? I want to know what adults allowed their kids to get on this video. I genuinely want to know. Like, this is actually insane.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh.
Like, bro, just let these kids be kids. Why are we putting kids on dating shows? That is weird. Especially 20v1s. I find it so insane how much Lil RT has been used and abused and just exploited through the black community. Y'all need to stop using and abusing this kid for your own financial gain and just let him be a child, bruh. Why do we need videos of Lil RT swiping dudes for his mom or assisting dudes in a 20v1 or even Lil RT being on a 20v1? Nobody needs this content. What's crazy is at the end of this Lil RT 20v1, this man has the audacity to say,
y'all let me know what y'all think. Let me know if y'all want to do another one, or y'all just talk to me, chat. Let me know.
Man, I just held the latest dating show for children, man. If y'all want another one, make sure to tag your little cousin in the comment section, tag little Timmy, tag your little sister, any kids, I want them all. Like, dog, read the room. Nobody wants another Lil RT.
All right, that stopped kind of abruptly. I didn't expect that. That's a weird thing to do. A dating show with children. You know, I've critiqued this. I think KW Don 7. Shout out to KW Don 7. I think he had said it was Dan Calloway who was behind it. But there's this entity on Instagram called the Pan African Dating Show. And it's just so completely unserious. You know, I like women just as much as the next guy, and I like the anatomy of women. But if you're gonna call yourself the Pan African Dating Show, I think you should. I think there should be a little bit more substance behind it, not just women from all over the African globe. Similarly with this YouTube stuff, man. If you're gonna be on YouTube talking about stuff, real talk, there should be some depth to it. I feel this is just my personal opinion. I understand that there's some jokey things you might want to discuss, but even then, I think we miss an opportunity to impart some kind of knowledge, some kind of ideology, even into our humor. But using children in dating shows and all this type of stuff is, to me, just not cool. Just not cool. And I could understand why some people like D-Web and them call social media in general, but YouTube in particular, like a cesspool, Twitter as well. It's just some weird stuff. I'm gonna switch it up here. Let's welcome in our brother Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you?
I'm doing all right, Koku. Sorry I'm a little late. I had a funeral today for a family friend, so I'm just getting back home.
My condolences, bro. My condolences.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming through too.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Glad to be here. Yeah, I see. So I see this video. Never seen it before,
Yes,
but
condolences, Black Steel. Condolences,
oh,
Ro.
thank you. I'm looking at. First of all, one thing I want to say is that this little RT, this is straight up some child abuse type of stuff. So I wonder what's his reading level like? Does he have friends his age? You're subjecting this child, you're exposing him to stuff he has no business being exposed to. And what do you think the outcome is? So for laughs and giggles, you're literally ruining a child's life, a black boy's life. Black children already have enough shit to deal with. You don't gotta handicap them, right? You don't gotta cut them off at the knees. They're gonna have their complications are enough already just by them being black, especially black boys. They're already seen as dangerous and threats. Um, so whoever his mother is, whoever his parents are, they need their asses beat. They need to be body slammed into submission. Take this child away from them and put him with some people who actually care about him, who want to see him succeed. YouTube has always been. I mean, it really depends on your algorithm. So when I search on YouTube, I find things that stimulate me intellectually, but YouTube has always kind of been a cesspool, right? And it's not just black YouTube. It always appeals to a certain type of people, right? And there's going to be videos for intellectual conversation and simulation, things like that. But then you're going to have the Pop the Balloon show. You're going to have the 20v1. You're going to have the man on the street interviews. Uh, you know, you're going to have that type of stuff because it appeals to a certain demographic. And because it appeals, I get the ad revenue. It's going to continue to show that. Uh, but also, too, YouTube can be used as a counter-revolutionary tool. Like I see, like for example, a YouTube page I follow quite often, Black Liberation Media, has recently been permanently demonetized, so they can't gain ad revenue. So you have freaking clowns like, Tariq or Yvette or that one dude, Dane Calloway, who says we're really Indians. They're not demonetized, but yet Black Liberation Media, which actually has some good shows, some good programming, that gets demonetized. Because this is really just about, keeping intelligent conversation from African people. I'm surprised that Africa Stream hasn't been hit. And I believe they will be, especially with them coming out and being so vocal about what's going on in Sudan and the Congo and Palestine. It's only a matter of time before they get hit and they get the strikes as well. But yeah, we certainly see what type of media is approved and what type of media is not approved by these algorithms, by these companies, and what they're trying to do. And it's not meant to enrich us, it's meant to dumb us down. It's meant to keep us status quo, talking about the latest fashion or who's sleeping with who, but we're not really dealing with any of the real substantial issues in our world. And that's what it's designed to do. You're gonna find some good things here and there, but for the most part, yeah. All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Black Steel, and again, condolences. Let's hear from Anthony next. Anthony, is Black YouTube going down the toilet?
Yeah, man. Hey, condolences to the brother Black Steel, man. Yeah, it's pretty much garbage to me, man. It's pretty much garbage. I mean, for the most part, like everybody was saying, it's now I can think of a whole lot of stuff I could disagree with, with Black Liberation Media, but they do put out great content though, Dr. Ball, now they put out some good content. I have plenty of respect for them, and and like what they did to them, I thought that was kind of messed up and demonetizing them and like you said, you got other shows like the brother Nefakari Desaline. He said they gave him some strikes recently. You know what I'm saying? And his other brothers, not African Stream, but it's another I think it was it might have been Tuna Cheki. I don't know. They was talking about how they gave them some stripes. It was these sisters from out of Kenya, who be these twin sisters out of Kenya who be putting out a lot of good stuff, man. And she said they struck them too. But yeah, man, they trying to push that low vibrational stuff, man. Man, look here, it was a couple of weeks, man. My sister-in-law Mika had called me, and and my niece Gabby, she had ran across, Gabby, where she really, she got on, it was a big decision letting her have her own phone. She like 11 years old now. And, we had to take her phone and do some stuff there because she was on YouTube and ran across some of the same old stuff here, this old dating ass shit, for children. Man, I mean, to me it gives pedophile vibes, man. That's what it is. It's some pedophile type shit, man. And yeah, man, that's some fucked up shit, man. I ain't gonna go. I'm kind of upset about that shit when I seen it. It was like, damn, man, because it made me think about the shit that just happened with my niece. So, man, yeah, it's fucked up, man. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, sorry to hear about that stuff with your niece, Anthony. But yeah, it's exploitation of children. I can only said it in the chat. This kid, Lil RT, I think is the name. This kid is exploited, sold by his parents and whatnot. With that said, shooter be number 3 is Black YouTube going down the drain. Real Black Gentleman. First, are you familiar with this Lil RT kid?
No, absolutely not. I don't know anything about this. This is disgusting. It is straight pedophile vibes. Look, you can't make things that was for adults for children. That's not how it works. You can take things that are designed for children and amp them up and make them adult style, like baseball, like T-ball. You can make into like baseball, and you know what I'm saying. But you can't. You don't have these adult design things and then try to just reduce it down to a kid-sized level. That's not how that. This is. It's not. It's like YouTube I can't mess with any of this. I cannot do that. I don't even. That's the thing about YouTube is that you have so many people that what I'm saying. This is the thing about social media in general. Like the people who have these platforms have a better idea of us than we do. You know what I'm saying? It's just the nature of it. This is like it's difficult for Black people to have a Black, thing that's better. For part of it is that the government subsidizes a lot of this stuff. So it's like, unless if we were to have, Black people had, all kinds of Black, and they're not getting the money. You know what I'm saying? Because it's for whatever reason. Because Black people aren't allowed to get the kind of subsidies that these white people did. These white people get this stuff subsidies just on the face of it. You know what I'm saying? Black people can go to school and try to have all kinds of fucking financial geniuses, and we still can't get this money for like all these businesses. It just does not come through like that. We only have like some kind of like just the organization of like where it's like everyone's going to these people, these experts, like get all this money. Like that's beside the point. This what you don't, like I said, you don't have to try to make kids into little adults. That's not what this is about. This is not how. You don't want that at all. Children should be relatively. They have to develop and they have to learn about the world before they get in the world. They can't do the stuff of an adult. You know what I'm saying? It's not. You know what I'm saying? They don't need these kids out here acting out like this. Having this young boy doing this and trying to be like like a whole grown adult. It's not necessarily. I'm gonna pass the mic. It's not good at all.
I appreciate that, Real Black Gentleman. Oh, by the way, in the chat, Trigabe262 plus to Andy McPhail, he said, I know who you're talking about with the Kenyan sisters. Lots of continental Africans are getting into political commentary on YouTube, and I love it. Trigger, do me a favor, man. Send me some of these names. Send me some names of the continental Africans who are on YouTube now doing political discourse. I'd like to introduce myself. So please, if you don't mind, send me a couple of those names on Discord in the DM. With that said, let me go to Buana. Buana, what say you?
Koku, I am reminded You know, the fellas in the room who probably is as old as I am, we remember the days of Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street, Jim Henson. And we remember the content was educational. The content was never ever to even sexualize children. And I am a peace loving human being. Make no mistake about it. I am a peace loving human being. But when it comes to children, you know, I am reminded of my nephews and my nieces. For me, this is no bueno. It's no bueno. For me, you know, I am to get me to be very extremely violent is to try to sexualize children. You know, when I look at this guy with his braids, I'm thinking of throwing this guy off a roof. You know, why are you trying to sexualize little children and have them like dating? And bro, that is for adults. That's no bueno. That's no good. That's no good. Why do you want to do that to children for money, bro? You know, like I say, man, these things are extremely emotive for me. And I think that children, it is going down the drain. If this the direction that is going in, appealing to pedophiles for money, appealing a pedophile would be interested in sexualizing children. Why do they want to be on dates? What is that? What is that, bro? What is that? To get views and clicks? Who are you trying to attract attention to? Children. Hey, yo, I think that this is extremely dangerous content, and this guy needs to be stopped. And if this is the direction of Black YouTube, is going extremely down the toilet, and you need to pull these dudes' coats. You know what I mean? I think that some of these content producers who are adults, you need to pull their coat, man. Grab them off of the street if you need to, because they shouldn't be allowed to operate within our community unfettered. Nobody's saying nothing to them. You see what it look, I don't know, man. I'll leave it, Koku, man. I have no more words, bro. I'll leave it, bro. Let someone else go.
Yeah, I feel you on that one 100%. I dislike when you start messing with kids, man. That negativity to kids and stuff. I dislike that stuff, man. So I feel you. Last but not least, only you've seen and heard what others have said. Shout out to KW Don 7 who says Black YouTube is finished. There's no productivity. You've seen everything and heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to this talk?
Yeah. My condolences to Black Steel, obviously. Also, you know, I just want to remind everybody to hit that like button, or you know, hit the Cash App, right? But beyond that, it's going down the toilet. But you know, the reality is this though. No disrespect to my people in the Western world, but a lot of the entertainment been crap. You know, a lot of the entertainment been crap. I mean, I think it's gotten worse. But you know, like I've been telling people, man, I can't even like the music I used to listen to when I was a kid. I can't play it for my kid. You know, like right now that my son's not here, I could play some, you know, Notorious B.I.G., you know, Notorious Thugs, you know, Bone and Biggie, right? You know, I can play it now, but I couldn't play that stuff when I was, you know, when my son's around. You know, not only if the music's not about killing the next man, right? It's about or if it's not about some, you know, men sleeping with men, right? Because that's a thing inside the hip hop community, right? But if it's not about that, it's you're calling Black people the N-word. You know? Now obviously it was a little bit more subtle, a little less on the nose. Back in the day. I don't know if you guys know the rap song Dreams. I used to like that song when I was younger. By Biggie. But the dude in that song, he said something like, he'd rather mess with, I can't remember the lyric right now, but basically he would mess with Raven Simone. And if you're looking at when the song is released, she's like 5 or some shit. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, it's always been crap. Not YouTube, not Black YouTube, maybe, I don't know. But it's always been crap. Now, this latest Pop the Balloon stuff, I'm gonna have to admit that, like I said, I came to America mostly so that my son could spend some time with his mother. and it's been surprisingly boring. You know, as to say that, you know, you kind of think, oh, okay, I can play video games, I can read books, I could program. You know, you're kind of like, damn, you know, where's my son at? Now, um, uh, when you so now, like I said, I go on YouTube and I did see in my recommendations some pop the balloon bullshit, and it's like, okay, I'm starting to understand what YouTube content is, because like you know, I have a YouTube channel, and it's not, you know, actually I was listening to one of my old podcasts, and it was actually pretty fire, but whatever, right? but it's not, you know, like when I realized that people come on YouTube to be entertained, if not advertised to, but to be entertained. And so a lot, like I think one of the things that we're not doing, right? And not really like us particularly, but let's say with one thing I wasn't doing is really facilitating towards that. Let me entertain you. Let me keep you entertained, right? Are you not entertained? Right? Now, what I can say is that, yeah, you know, that pop balloon shit, and I never watched an episode, but I'm trying to, right? You know, my first episode, whatever, right? But what that pop the balloon thing does is it is entertainment if you are a bored person. If you got nothing to do, if you don't have Netflix or you watched everything on Netflix and you so on and so forth, you can't play video games, you keep dying or whatever, right? You know, you don't program games, obviously. You don't read books, right? If you're that person, like because sometimes we have to understand our demographic, right? And so black people go online, go on YouTube, and they're either, you know, listening to me. I'm not generally, but like most of us either going on YouTube or we're watching content that's created by black folk. And a part of it is that we want to be entertained. A lot of times we don't want intellectual stimulation. We don't want to think. We don't want to pay attention. We don't want to focus. We don't want to, you know, we want to look at women standing around with balloons in their hands. You know what I mean? Or men standing around with balloons in their hands and, you know, play each other and whatever. So right now, like when I first saw this video, I was not that bored. So I was just kind of like, ew, whatever. But now I'm just like, you know, I see that these people are trying to make a living off of entertaining people, and they're experimenting with the market. And I think it's a bad experiment. Obviously, I think it's an experiment that you should have some damn common sense about. I think it's sick that parents would put their children into this nonsense. It's actually really, really sick. Like stupidly sick. But you know, that's the thing about, like, the way how I look at it is that that's the thing about this species, right? I see this species as, for what it's worth, trying to you know, trying to make a living out of, you know, out of nothing, and in so doing, you know, making mistakes and doing stupid stuff, you know, things that we generally consider stupid. But at the same time, it's like I'm going to put it on. I wanna remind us as Pan-Africanists that we also have a responsibility to entertain our people that we're not living up to. And the way I'll put it is that if this, like one thing, you know, people don't like this, you know, you can't compare us to this country or whatever. But one thing you can say about China is that, one, they censor the shit out of the internet. Like, they censor their internet. Now, obviously, we can't do that because we don't have, you know, that kind of powers or whatever, right? But one, they censor their internet, and two, they give their children good content. You know, they give their children good content. The European is giving his own children bad content. You know, and I'll put it this way. In fact, you know, there's this German, I think he's German, right? There's this guy, German or whatever, who goes into restaurants, films himself, and then just screams, ah, whatever, right? And makes a big fuss, and he thinks it's cool. And I said to myself, when I was looking at it, I was, you know, somebody was like, who the freak even follows this guy? Who listens to this stuff? And somebody said it's probably, you know, people with smooth brains, probably blah, blah, blah. And I said to myself, look, I'm not even going to try to disrespect my kid. But like, I ain't going to hold you guys. I caught my son, like, I don't, like, because we probably don't know this stuff, but there is children's entertainment on YouTube, and it's a bunch of stupid shit. A bunch of stupid, like, you probably never saw it, but there's a whole part of YouTube, probably even the majority of YouTube, because a lot of people don't know, but Coco Melon's like one of the biggest accounts on YouTube. But it's possible that there's a lot of kids on YouTube watching some really stupid stuff, and there are people producing content for children that's really, really stupid. One of them is called like Skibbity Toilet or something like that. And it's like them stupid song like skibbity wop wop, skibbity wop wop wop, and and it's a guy in a toilet just 3D animated, shouting, all that kind of stuff. Completely different from all the content that we get. Okay, and children are looking at it. And I'll tell you this: China said no, fudge it, and we condemn China for this, but they say nope, internet censored. And if you look at what China gives their own children, it gives them music lessons, it gives them architecture, it gives them science. That's what their TikTok looks like. Okay, Chinese TikTok is science lessons, engineering lessons, physics, whatever, right? Children expressing themselves, all that kind of stuff. That's what we are supposed to be doing for our children. But one, we're not, and two, we got these fools who are copying this white boy who also does stupid stuff for his own people, right? This white man is not a model for a thing. And I'm not saying China is. Okay, I'm not saying China is. But if anything, China's a better model. I'll put it that way, right? But better even this. Not telling you're supposed to look at other people for a model, but it's not that you're supposed to look at any particular people, but you should look at everybody and look for results. And what it is that we as Pan-Africanists, we should be producing at minimal children's content, and we should be producing other and we should be producing our own entertainment. We should be producing our own sitcoms, our own Martin, our own whatever. But we don't, or even if we do, we don't really get the backing. We don't really get the finances. I can tell you guys, in fact, I got a children's book. I think I sold like 2 books, in the entire 3 years I had the book. So I'm pretty sure we are not and again, that's not no fault of ours, whatever. It's not saying you got to go get the book and then that's gonna whatever. But the point is that we slipped up. We slipped up. And so this is the result of a weak Pan-African tradition. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, well stated, Oni. I think I try to push that similar messaging. There's things we can do, guys. We talked about it a couple months ago on Shoot the Breeze. You can use Canva and PowerPoint slide or Google Sheets or whatever. In fact, I only did a video about using Google Sheets. You guys make sure to check that out. As far as using children as content and not exploiting them and not putting them in bad lights, check out Bakari's video that he posted during Shoot the Breeze here, where he's highlighting his 5-year-old nephew is raising chickens, man. But there's things, to go back to the other point, there's things we can do. All it takes is the willingness and a little bit of effort and some time. And we could put out children's content. It doesn't have to be what this white man is putting out. It doesn't have to look that way. But it could be powerful. It could have the messaging that we want, the propaganda that we want for our people. All it takes is some people to get behind it. This is the problem. I want to clear the palette a little bit. So in addition to your final thoughts on this prompt, I'd like you guys on the panel to express what YouTubers, Black YouTubers, we probably should be tuned into. Now, I'll admit I'm bad at this topic because I mostly tune into YouTube to listen to people on KWAZ Radio. So I'll put that out there first and foremost. Listen to everyone on KWAZ Radio. That's The Forecast, Brother Bakari, Kofi the Black Critic, Relman the Bush, the Revolutionary Matron, That's myself, of course, only the pro-black perspective. Like, tune into those shows. But Trigger Happy 262, because I asked him to in the chat, he sent me over a few. Evans from Kenya, Twins Hangout Kenya, Unpopular Opinion, Kumbukeni, Dash Reclaiming Our Narrative, Moya. So those are a few that he suggests. I can copy these and post them in the chat. That's what I'll do right now. But I'd like the rest of my panelists as well to give some of their, their picks. And in no particular order, anyone can go. But I'll start with Anthony McPhail just to get it rolling. Anthony, what say you?
Hey, the twins, those sisters from Kenya, man, they deep, man. They deep. They real deep, man. I check them out all the time.
What's
and
their
brother,
name?
I know there's two twins. The name is is a similar name. One is like Mara and something else kind of similar to it. I'm subscribed to their channel though. But yeah, and they all go ahead.
I'm sorry, Anthony, real quick. I think that channel I mentioned, what was it called again? It was called Twins Hangout Kenya. If I had to guess,
Twins Hangout
Kenya. I'll repost all the links separately. I posted it before, but it came up funny. I'll repost all the links. But in the meantime, Anthony, continue.
Yeah, the Twins Hangout Kenya, and they I mean, they real deep. I mean, they really deep. And the other sister, like I said, she's here now. She's here in the States, but she's based in Kenya. And because they have an Afrocentric school in Kenya, man. The sister Nduku, they have a school over there. They have a KWAZ, all of that stuff. I mean, check their channel out, man. They go real deep. I mean, they go across the board, man. She discusses Malcolm X. Her greatest inspiration is Malcolm X. She loves Malcolm. But I'm saying Walter Rodney, everybody, she has kind of like a slight, like a socialist thing, but she's more on the Ubuntu philosophy. The sister Nduku, she's more on Ubuntu and like our traditional African philosophies, man. But like she incorporated that old African wisdom, like how we used to hear from Tanzania, and she incorporates that with Afrocentrism and everything. And she's real deep. And that brother Evans from Kenya, he's tough too, man. He's real tough. He does, and it's another channel, Pan African Lifestyles. Man, they do a lot of great content. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, and these brothers and sisters, they waking up, man. I mean, they doing more content. They doing the content that you would think that we would be doing over here in the West. You know what I'm saying? Coming from a strong African center, not Afrocentric, African center perspective. No, they doing what we used to do. And they taking it to another level because they taking it to the people on the continent. Because we've been had this. I don't know how much we listen to it and how much we apply it to what we need to apply it to. But they didn't have that kind of stuff. I know a lot of times we done heard these African brothers and sisters from the continent saying, "Oh man, we didn't know that. We didn't know about that." Yeah, we heard a little bit about it, about whether it was transatlantic trade, and stuff like that. Yeah, we heard a little bit about it. They don't really teach that in school. Well, now, man, they having Afrocentric schools all over Africa now, man. It's still a long way to go, but they having them particularly in places like Kenya. Particularly they having them in Uganda now, in Rwanda. They having the whole Afrocentric kind of vibe, and in West Africa. And so yeah, man, it's a lot of good channels, man. I check out a lot of stuff, man. And yeah, man. Our people waking up, man. I'll knock off right there.
Appreciate that, Anthony. Anyone else want to add some channels that haven't been mentioned yet that you think are good listens? Anyone else? All right. Surprisingly.
This is a channel called Runaway Slave. I peek all the time, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I'm subscribed to that channel. It's a dude who was he just talks about this. Not really from an African perspective, but kind of. But just from a black perspective, he's kind of hard nosed. But I like that channel, Runaway Slave. has like an icon of Ida B. Wells on this channel. What's another good channel? I kind of listen to smaller channels, honestly, like channels that other people have kind of peeked me onto. Like a lot of the bigger channels, I don't really. I mean, I kind of catch wind of them like here and there, but like I tend to focus on like as far as like just smaller channels that just happen to. That was a channel that actually forecast actually he had that on his channel. I kind of just just keep on it. That's one channel, Runaway Slave, with Ida B. Wells as the as the thumbnail on his channel.
Hey, Koku, Moya. I forget that's the channel Moya out of South Africa with this sister named Nziki Mezwai. Moya.
Okay, Moya. Okay. Appreciate that. No one mentioned Pan-Africanism Strikes Back. Well, you know what? Let me take that back. Good conversation.
Pan-Africanism.
Oh yeah, you know what? I got two.
Hey, man, we got one move out of here.
So I think of I already mentioned Black Liberation Media, Africa Stream, and Activist News Network. They have a lot of interviews with Dr. Gerald Horn. He's a professor at the University of Houston, African Studies. He's really good. So that's another check. Activist News Network. He talks about a lot of contemporary news events. He's really good. He's getting up there, but this man has like 30 books, so he's written a lot.
Oh yeah, my brother Shakara forgot. Shakara, obviously, don't forget only, but the pro-black perspective. But Shakara has a channel. I some of the content is but yeah. But Shakara has one, and obviously Abadele Kambone. People know about
Hey,
him.
talk about them change the name of their channel. It's Kumbing. It's something else now. It's
Yeah,
not
they changed the name of the channel. I saw that. I was like, who?
It's African Swahili now. I think like Kumbinga or something.
Yeah, Kimbunga Media. Yeah, Afro Native put it in the chat. But yeah, so there's also a view for Hodie, obviously, but that's But like again, like it depends on what you're interested in. But as far as like what's entertaining, I don't know. Like I said, I don't personally know because I was just now sitting there bored. So yeah, that's it.
Oh, we gonna forget about Ayoki Amathi. You know what I'm saying? He has a couple platforms. There's one on the horizon. He has some things going. He has some on Rumble. He has that's not YouTube, but you know what I'm saying. He has his JAT problem. He has that going. Just want to shout that out.
Yeah, he got an upcoming event coming up real soon, like on this month, later on this month, the 28th.
Oh yeah, and invite Carnell.
It's a good channel called. Yeah, man, it's a good channel with Dr. Greg Carr from out of Howard called Narrative. Narrative is a very, very informative. He he is a scholar in Howard, but he is very informative with the other sister who he does interview. Well, they do a dialogue show every Saturdays.
Yeah,
Narrative is spelled with a K. And yeah, Karen Hunter. Yeah,
Hey,
Narrative is spelled.
Barno, as long as you keep him away from Roland Martin, he's good.
Yeah. What I try to think about is programs without the politics. But when they get in, because I know the Americans politicking right now, so everything is based off of the elections. But when we get outside of the electoral year, they get down to brass taxes in terms of blackness and global blackness and even American blackness. Very good topics. You have Politics Watch out of Jamaica. If you want to know substantially what's going on in the Caribbean countries, Politics Watch is a good listen because even though he primarily focused on Jamaican issues, you could really extend that throughout the Caribbean with different issues that he talk about. So I think that is a good show. Afro Think Tank, he's politicking right now. Like I say, it's an electoral year, but after November, I think that he'll get back to a lot of good information. Lumumba Speaks, of course. Brother Lumumba is a very good person in terms of Pan-African politics. forecast is very good. Kofi is very good. They politicking, like I say again. So it's because it's electoral year, but after November 7th, they'll get back to brass taxes. There's a sister called Shay Sharad. She deals with a lot of relationship kind of issues, but she her emphasis is with Africanness and pro-blackness and things of that nature. So I think that she's a good listen. There's a sister out of Nigeria. Her name is Adiola Fehun. She talks in terms of Nigerian issues and the greater African continent and what's going on in those countries and things like that. Very informative information. Even Afrodamus. Afrodamus is my more entertainment. If you want to troll, if you want to have a good time, if you want to talk junk, Afrodamus is a good talk show to listen to.
Hey, Ivy Anita out of Nigeria is better though. Ivy Anita.
Ivy Anita is good. Ivy Anita is good. If you want to know what's going on in terms of the Black British world, you have the Diary of a CEO, and a lot of other content for with the Black British channels. I mean, you could Oni was saying, Kumbunga. I forget his name now. I forget.
Shakara.
Anthony was just Shakara. Shakara is very good with the Black British. As far as the Black French, you have Zach Mukasa. Mukasa he does shows in English and French. So you could get a lot of information from Zach Mukasa. So I mean, that's just to name a few. I'll just leave it there.
Hey, you know, Kofi 250 out of Guyana.
Yeah, I appreciate that from everyone. This gives me the idea on the Discord. I'm going to put up a post that covers the 6 zones, I guess, of the Black world. And you guys who are on the Discord, just add the channels to each section. Who's the people who cover the Caribbean well, who cover the UK, who cover different states within the continent, etc. So we'll do that. I'll set that up. In the chat, we got Provide Triggers for Evolution saying South Africa, SMWX with Sizway in Pofu, Welsh. Takru, Tori says Trill Black, I guess. Provide Trigger says for Kenya, the REM experience. I mean, this is good stuff. I've kind of been in the KWAZ bubble, so I apologize. But yeah, let's create on the Discord, let's create a directory of sorts for people who want to check out other channels, and it'll also help me in identifying people I'd like to reach out to collab with as well. So you guys do me that favor. I'll set it up and I'll invite everyone to it. So join the Discord if you haven't already. The link is in the description. Let's go, for time's sake, let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 4 tonight. Shooter Breeze topic number 4 says how Haiti helped to create the USA. This comes with a link that takes us to YouTube. A little bit of a change. What we'll do is we will watch this video. It's about a 9-minute video, and then we'll discuss it.
Haiti is one of 2 countries, along with the Dominican Republic, located on the island of Hispaniola in the Caribbean. With a land size of 27,750 square kilometers, or 10,714 square miles, and an estimated population of 11.4 million persons, Haiti is the 3rd largest Caribbean territory by land size and the territory with the largest population. Despite such large figures, in comparison to countries outside the Caribbean, Haiti would be considered a small country. One may therefore ask, what impact can such a small country make? Well, let's investigate an interesting account of how Haiti helped to create one of the largest countries in the world and one of the most powerful economies in human history, the United States of America. In 1803, the United States purchased 827,000 square miles of land west of the Mississippi River from France for US $15 million. In today's money, that would be equivalent to US $600 billion. This land purchase allowed the United States to acquire land that, in today's geographical terms, would make up 15 states and parts of 2 Canadian provinces. The purchase increased not only the United States land acquisition and ownership, but it also increased their chances of attaining wealth, becoming the world's foremost economic and military power. The purchase of such a vast expanse of land would not have been possible for the Americans if it were not for a resilient group of freed slaves on a small island in the Caribbean and a panicking French emperor. The French Empire controlled the territory of Louisiana, which was called the Louisiana Territory of New France, from 1699 to 1762. It was then ceded to the Spanish during the Treaty of Fontainebleau in 1762. This gave the Spanish vast amounts of untapped land, which was further cemented with France's defeat to Spain during the 7 Years' War, which was fought between 1756 and 1763. This allowed for Spain to control everything west and Britain to control everything east of the Mississippi River. The British controlled everything east of the river until 1776 with the success of the American Revolution. All that changed in the year 1800 when Napoleon Bonaparte was introduced as the first French consul of the French Republic. Napoleon was the new face of French power and the French identity after the events of the French Revolution, which lasted for a decade from 1789 to 1799. In a secret meeting labeled the Third Treaty of San Ildefonso, France exchanged territories in Tuscany, Italy, for the colony of Louisiana with Spain. Then President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, had expressed the newly formed United States intention of purchasing the port city of New Orleans first, and then purchasing lands in Louisiana step by step. The Americans saw Spain as a weakening power, but France's regaining of the colony sparked fear and concern, with Jefferson stating that the acquisition of land by France under Napoleon would cause the Americans to seek allegiance with their former masters, Britain, and might even spark a newly reformed slave trade or task force regime. The possibility of the Americans acquiring the land seemed unlikely, and France's newly refreshed dominance in the Western Hemisphere seemed on the rise, until Haiti. The Haitian Revolution began in 1791 and lasted until 1804. What happened during that time on the Caribbean territory, then known as Saint-Domingue, was nothing short of bloody, gruesome, and chaotic. However, the impact of the event changed history forever. After the end of the French Revolution in 1799, the ideals of equal rights for all human beings rang throughout the Americas and the Caribbean. However, the revolution had left France in financial difficulty. As a result, heavy tariffs were placed against planters stationed in Haiti who were importing produce from France. The Haitian planters, in return, were not allowed to trade with any other external power. This limited growth in a colony that was, by far, the crown jewel of the Kingdom of France. The colony produced 40% of all sugar and 60% of all coffee imported by Europe, and France sent over 800,000 African slaves to Haiti. That's more than double the number of slaves sent by France to the entire North American continent. Revolutionaries such as Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines were the main champions of the revolution, leading strategic military advances against French troops, defeating both the French army and the navy. Louverture was captured and died in prison in 1803, 1 year before the end of the revolution. Dessalines finished the task, leading a final successful revolt in 1804, signaling the birth of the Second Republic in the Western Hemisphere after the United States, and the first independent state governed by ex-African slaves in history. The Haitian Revolution left a deep scar on the military might and the resources of the French kingdom turned empire, with over 2/3 of all French troops that were sent to Haiti being killed. The loss of the colony also hurt France economically, giving way for Napoleon to consider other ways of acquiring money to fund his war efforts, especially his advances throughout Europe. US President Thomas Jefferson did not recognize the Haitian state in an effort to build a good relationship with France, with the aim of acquiring New Orleans and some of the territory from the Louisiana colony. Things worked out even better for the Americans. The loss of Haiti was so great to France that Napoleon, in desperation for funds, sold the entire colony of Louisiana, all 827,000 square miles of it, to the United States for $15 million. Result, the Louisiana Purchase more than doubled the size of the United States, allowing them to acquire lands that later on would be discovered as having precious minerals and resources such as gold and oil. The Louisiana Purchase in today's money costs over US $600 billion, and today the land purchase is well worth over US $2 trillion. Because of the initiative of a few African slaves on a Caribbean island and the willingness of a French emperor to sell, the United States, though already birthed, truly began to bloom, paving the way in becoming the massive expanse of land and the economic superpower that it is today.
Good stuff. I like when people succinctly kind of break down a history and bring it forward. Now, there's some in America that would say that because of Haiti and the uprising and revolt, that it made slavery in America even harsher. So I'm hoping that someone kind of addresses that during this panel discussion. So should we start number 4, how Haiti helped to create the USA. Let me start with RBG. Real Black Gentleman, what's it?
Well, that's just to say that, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? People down in Haiti was, I mean, that just shows the fragility really of white capital. I mean, to sit here and say that you have a stake in such a large piece of land and that you're fighting a war against, you know what I'm saying, black people, and that you basically had to liquidate whole chunks of land that, you know, you haven't even stepped foot on. They really even try to like get anything out of it. You just had to like fire sale that because I need capital. You know what I'm saying? I need gold. I need resources. I need to be able to float financiers. You know, it's funny. It's like you know what I'm saying? But that just shows the power of black people. When you look at what white people had to do just to, you know what I'm saying, try to like leverage something out of the deal. I mean, that's a good turf, good chunks of land. Like going back to what I was saying, I think I was saying it last week. It's just like the idea of like that chunk of land should have been naturally like that's if that was ever Indian land, all that is Indian land, all that Louisiana Purchase, all that what's of that. All I mean, you know, it was never really designed for the people who's already here. And no kind of sense of like giving black people who work the land a piece of this land here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's absolutely correct. I mean, it really didn't do it in a direct way. It was very inadvertent just because, like, you know, because of what Haiti was doing on the ground. Like, I mean, it's just incidental. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still, no matter how you look at it, it's still misappropriation. I mean, as a black person in America, like, you know, I mean, it's hard to like be west of the Mississippi. I mean, people are going to move around because they're going to move around.
and the ability of Black people to do that where they are in spite of political or whatever. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I really wish we didn't have to necessarily. I wish there was like a string of islands. You know what I'm saying? I wish. I mean, the only thing that Black people can do to be strong, if we're going to be strong in the world, is in spite of a lot of this, I mean, I don't even want to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? The Haitian people, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you know what I'm saying? They did so much fighting and they did so much resistance that, you know what I'm saying? I said what I said, that the whole world powers have to liquidate, you know what I'm saying, whole chunks of territory. And that's like obscene. So I'm just going to leave it there.
I appreciate that, RBG. Let's keep the track going with Blacks or Africans in America. Let's have from Anthony. What say
you? I mean, Haiti was the richest colony. Haiti was France's richest colony. You remember at that time, France didn't have colonies in Africa at that time. No, they would later have, like in the mid to late 19th century. They didn't have colonies. All of their colonies were basically in the Caribbean. It was like Martinique and Guadeloupe, and I think it may have been places like Grenada, Dominica to an extent. They went back and forth between the British and the French, and but Haiti was such a rich colony. I was looking at something what he was talking about, that all that Haiti provided, that the enslaved African people provided, from the indigo, the gold, the sugar cane, and I don't know, tobacco, all kind of stuff, all kind of products, that they provided, to the French economy, and which was circulated around, because the French were trading with the British and and other Europeans, and they had the whole triangular trade, from France, in Europe to Africa and to the Caribbean, and then back, to Europe and everything. What they call the triangular trade. I mean, the profits were humongous, and so so it was vital for the French war machine. I mean, for them to be able to wage war, and just imagine just to lose that kind of colony. You know what I'm saying? To not have that kind of wealth no more. You can't form your army. I mean, you can't fund your military campaigns. You know what I'm saying? You can't pay your soldiers. I mean, it probably had an effect on the local French government. Your politicians, your civil service, and things like that. Because a lot of them were probably plantation owners. You know what I'm saying? They probably own the states down there, because those. I mean, that was a big slave trade. But I mean, 800,000. They brought 800,000 Africans, across the ocean to come in and get worked to death on the island of Haiti. You know what I'm saying? Some of them, a lot of. I mean, I think the average life of an African enslaved African man and woman and child during the slavery period was like 7 years, 5 to 7 years. So that means you had to bring some more to replace them. And then think about the impact, like you said, the impact that it had on what would become America, gaining, nearly 1 million square miles in land. You know what I'm saying? And I like what you said, Coco, about you saying, what you talking about, the impact that it had on the slave owners, particularly in the southern United States, and them enacting legislation and everything to make slavery harder on, the enslaved Africans in the, in the southern United States, or in all of the areas where they are enslaved African people. Well, I mean, you know what? Okay, they enact legislature, to make things more stringent, make things more harder, but it didn't help none. Because you know what? 1831 was after 1803, and Nat Turner still revolted. You know what I'm saying? Denmark Vesey still tried to revolt. You know what I'm saying? Gabriel Prosser still tried to revolt. 1811 in Louisiana, a former French colony. Charles Deslong, a Haitian, a man who was born in Haiti, a Haitian, French father, African mother. He was born in Haiti. Him, along with a brother, an African from the Gold Coast, from Ghana, named Kwamina, led the rebellion in 1811 in Louisiana, known as the German Coast Rebellion. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so it did it might have scared the white folks, scared the white settlers, but it actually encouraged the Africans. You know what I'm saying? They're because they say now we got a place where we won. Our people won down in Haiti. They free. And remember, Dessalines said, if you're a black man, you're an African, and you're in slavery, you escaped slavery, you can come here, and you're gonna be free. So I mean, the impact. It was two impacts. It was a detrimental impact for the Europeans, but it was a positive impact for the Africans because see now we know we got somewhere we can go. And it was always a threat. They even said that they thought, look at the white folks in America thought that Nat Turner's rebellion, that the other brother Gabriel Denmark Vesey and Gabriel Prosper's rebellion, and there were other rebellions besides them. After them, they always and the Africans in Florida. Don't you know the white folks thought that they was all inspired by Haitians. They thought it was inspired by Haiti, man. We got these free, I mean, they would think like, there was even a conspiracy that Denmark Vesey, because see, Denmark Vesey was a sailor. After he became a free man, he was a sailor, and he used to travel to Haiti. He traveled to Haiti, and he went back and forth from Haiti to I think South Carolina or whatever it was, to the States. And they say that he used to spread literature around about freedom to the Africans. He used to go back and forth from Haiti. He had ties to Haiti. And so the American government, they thought that, hey, they even put more pressure on the Haitian government because they thought that they was trying to fund slave rebellions in America. And I'll knock off right there.
Appreciate that, Anthony. Just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to Anthony. Black Steel, what say you? How Haiti helped to create the USA?
Well, I think it's a well-known but somewhat of an overlooked historical fact. I remember reading about this in a book called by Howard Zinn, A People's History of the United States, among other sources. But this is not the acquisition of the so-called Louisiana Territory was not a net positive for the world, especially for the African and the indigenous population who mainly made up that area. Because France's control over the Louisiana, they call it New France. They really didn't settle that much of the land. They built New Orleans, but much of the French, with their colonization, really involved like trading furs. So they didn't make any like large, they didn't multiple large scale settlements in the West like like the British did with Virginia and New York and the Carolinas. They mostly had their cities, but they're mostly dependent on trade and furs with the Native Americans. That's kind of what they did. So theirs was a light hand, right? If we're talking about how the French colonized North America, it wasn't quite so, there wasn't a lot of Frenchmen in that territory as opposed to the English colonies where you had literally millions of, like 2-3 million people in the 13 colonies. You maybe had a couple thousand French people in, what is called Louisiana Territory. So when the United States gained this land, right, they opened it up for settlement and colonization. They wanted to expand their empire, which meant, stealing more land from Native Americans, uh, introducing more land for spreading of slavery. The Haitian Revolution is really such a watershed moment in history. I think it gets overlooked by a lot of historians because, first of all, it's a black revolution. The idea that African people um, sit up here and they believe that African people struck for their own freedom and actually beat the three most powerful empires at the time is just it flies in the face of the idea of white supremacy or white people are superior, black people are inferior. But yeah, they added this land And then also too, you started to have the process of Indian removal. So they got this land in 1804. By 1830s, the idea was to move the tribes of the southeast, the Cherokee, the Creek, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, and the Seminole. The idea was to move them west because they discovered gold in Georgia. So the Louisiana Territory then led to the resettlement of Native Americans, the expansion of slavery into the places like Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama. All of these things made it worse for African people. So I think that we really don't think how much the United States is basically the most dangerous threat to humanity in the world right now. It's crazy when we don't think about how this country is governed by psychopaths with nuclear weapons, and the Louisiana Purchase kind of just made them stronger. In fact, if I take it back a little bit further, at the end of they call it the 7 Years' War in Europe, but we call it the French and Indian War in North America. At the end of that war between the British colonies and the French and their Indian allies, the France lost. And then, as a way to pay for the war, the British started hitting their colonists with taxes, which of course they didn't want to pay. But also there was some boundaries put in place. So the 13 colonies were not to expand beyond the Appalachian Mountains. So this was a way for the British to have a buffer zone between themselves and the indigenous population. So of course they didn't like that. So the Americans decided to that was actually one of the triggers for the American Revolution, is that the Americans the colonies were to keep from going any further west in the mountains. Of course they didn't like that. And then with the French, with Haiti being added, after the Haitian Revolution, Napoleon wants to sell because with the loss of Saint-Domingue, the Louisiana Territory is nowhere near as profitable. It allows him to get the money he needs to fight on the continent. He's currently at war with England on the mainland of Europe, so he needed that money. So it was a win-win for everybody involved, except for the Africans and the indigenous people, who it wasn't a win for. It was really just more to enrich our enemy, and we're still dealing with the effects of that today. So I've said enough. I will leave it there. Thank you, Koku.
I appreciate that. Black Steel. With that said, let me go to Oni next. How Haiti helped to create the USA.
Yeah, what I'm gonna say is I don't like this prompt at all. I don't like the premise of this prompt. I know it was a decently informative video, so I'm not trying to be a hater. But I don't like the idea of black people taking credit for things, like just things outside of them. Okay, you are kicking ass in Haiti. I agree. But to say that you helped create the United States because of that is like, no, you know what I mean? Like France took a L and sold some of his property. That's just it. France took a L and sold some of his property. It's like if somebody, I don't know, beats my ass, and then in order to pay for my medical bills, I sell my PS5, right? And that person comes along and tells somebody else, the only reason why you got a PS5 is because I beat his ass. You gotta give me credit. Like, no, I don't gotta give you credit. He sold his. I mean, like, there is that cause and effect, but it's not like one, it's not intentional, and two, it doesn't benefit you one way or the other. So it's just like, stop taking credit for things that are like machines to destroy you. This same United States comes in and like literally destroys Haiti. And what I mean by destroys Haiti, what I mean is that one of the things about Haiti that was so profound was in its original constitution, it said no white person can own land here. And up until the American invasion, which, Buana pointed out had also African Americans in it, but that's just a side note, right? But up until that American invasion, no white person owned land in Haiti. which is, again, that's a really profound statement, because there's white people who own a lot of shit in Africa right now. For a nation to say no white person can own anything in this country is huge. And America came in, sent their Marines, and it wasn't that many Marines, 400 they said, right? Whatever. But they sent these Marines, took over the Haitian economy, and changed that constitution and said, nope, white people could own land. And sure enough, white people now, so it's just like, so when a white state gets bigger and now you're brushing your shoulder off. And this is exactly what I was talking about in the whole colonial conversation. We do not we don't seem to get that making your enemy stronger is making you weaker. And this is why I'll go back to this. There's only a handful of white people I recommend people go read. One of them is Machiavelli. And Machiavelli says, look, let me find the wisdom of the elders. Okay? Let me go find the wisdom that's been passed down for generations. And one of them is, whatever benefits my enemy harms me, and whatever harms my enemy benefits me. So the fact, and if you don't understand, and I think that's the thing, a lot of people don't understand that America is like let's just put it this way, the worst geopolitical entity on the planet. Okay, it is the leading terrorist stage on the planet. So I would never brag about making this terrible colonial imperialist state any better. You know what I mean? Like, I would never do that. And so obviously I don't even give Haiti credit for this Louisiana Purchase. I think that's a French thing, right? But outside of that, I think Black people looking to have some sort of part, some sort of role, how I contributed to America, I fought in every war, that kind of bullshit, right? I think that is, put it frankly, I think that's pathetic. And I think I personally don't like. I don't think that's a conversation that we should be having. I'm not sorry, not that we shouldn't be having it. What I mean is, I think that that's a weird argument to make. But I mean, the history aside, like I said, I wouldn't even personally, looking at the facts as stated, I wouldn't even give Haiti credit for this, right? Because Haiti had no role in the negotiation, honestly. It was like France and America. But I also I could see the interconnection between geopolitical happenstances, but again, I wouldn't give the credit there, especially because Haiti is not a beneficiary, and of course, everybody suffers under the growth of America. Now, yeah, everybody suffers from the growth of America. So that's pretty much what I would say.
I appreciate that, Oni. I really do, because it crossed my mind. I think, not that I think, I know Anthony said it in the chat. It crossed his mind too that it did help to expand America, to expand its reach and power. So there's that to think about. If you're Haitian out there and you're listening, man, click the link. Join the conversation. Give us your thoughts. We don't have any representatives of Haiti up here tonight. Like a Zuli or someone like that, click the link. Join us for this discussion. What say you to all of it? Why you muted if you talk?
Yeah. Can you hear me? 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah. So
this
conversation really wasn't directed towards.
No. I was saying,
and his lot. This conversation was really directed towards. Yeah. So this conversation was really directed towards. Let me come back. and use the phone instead.
No.
I see myself cutting out for some reason. I don't know.
Okay. While Buana does that, does anyone want to add any backup thought to what they said previously on this topic?
No, I wasn't saying you were snitch. You were cutting out. You started like not stuttering, but like your internet started stuttering, and then I guess Buana started repeating himself. I don't know, but no, you were. I think the stream is still going.
Yeah, I think Buana was on a delay.
Started stuttering. Yeah.
I think Buana was on a delay, perhaps, or something, because it seemed like he was responding to things a little bit after the time. But Buana's back now. Buana, what say you? Unmute your mic, Buana.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yeah, it sounds a little choppy, but go ahead. Let's see if we can make out what you're saying.
Oh goodness. Okay, so this conversation really wasn't directed towards the brothers on the panel. It was really directed towards.
Yeah, Buana, you're choppy. Can you
I'll come back. Oh, go ahead. I'll come back on the track. I'll come again. I'll come back. Go ahead.
Well, we are overtime.
Yeah,
I just do it another time, bro. If you got a time, you just go ahead and close it out.
All right. Well, that's the show tonight. I actually was gonna go to a quick prom, but one that we didn't get to last week.
You can go. We still have time, because I wanted to talk about that with you today. So if you want to go to that prom, no sweat.
All right. I'll go to another prom. Buana, fix your audio in the meantime, if you don't mind. Let me get to it. Shoot the breeze, topic number 5. If Buana comes back, he can respond to that previous topic as well. But in the meantime, we'll go shoot the breeze, topic number 5. I think it's a pretty quick one, but it might go on for a bit. Shoot the breeze, topic number 5 says, name one of the top 5 coons of the 21st century and why. This also came with a link that'll take us back to X or Twitter. It takes us to Umar conversation, so we'll watch it twice and then we'll discuss it.
5 coons of all time. Woo! We ain't gonna go all time because I'll go all the way back in history, and some of them might not have no reference. I'm gonna keep it contemporary. Let's say the 21st century. Top 5 coons of the 21st century in no order, because they all equally guilty. Charles Barkley, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, Jesse Lee Peterson. There's somebody I'm missing really bad, and I can't think of him. Shaq, Supreme Court Justice Thomas, Jesse Lee Peterson. I could put Shaq up on there, but not quite. I think somebody earns it more than Shaq. And I could put Candace Owens up there, but I even think somebody owns it more than Candace. I think Candace go up there, though, because Candace been cooning. Barkley, Jesse Lee Peterson, Supreme Court Justice Thomas. 5 coons of all time. Woo! We ain't gonna go all time because I'll go all the way back in history, and some of them might not have no reference. I'm gonna keep it contemporary. Let's say the 21st century. Top 5 coons of the 21st century in no order, because they all equally guilty. Charles Barkley, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, Jesse Lee Peterson. There's somebody I'm missing really bad, and I can't think of him. Shaq, Supreme Court Justice Thomas, Jesse Lee Peterson. I could put Shaq up on there, but not quite. I think somebody earns it more than Shaq. And I could put Candace Owens up there, but I even think somebody owns it more than Candace. I think Candace go up there, though, because Candace been cooning. Barkley, Jesse Lee Peterson, Supreme Court Justice Thomas.
And Candace Owens. All right. Buana's back. Let's get his thoughts on the previous prompt really quick and his thoughts on should be solved number 5. Go ahead, Buana.
Coco, am I clear? Am I clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me say it like this. So that prompt, that last prompt wasn't specifically for people like Anthony or Oni. It was really directed at ADOS because ADOS are historically illiterate. They don't understand that before they think that America itself started as 51 states, and it didn't. It started as 13 colonies ruled by the British specifically. Then you had the middle section, which was France. Then you had Spain. They had a map of who was controlling entities within the colonies of the Northern American continent, right? They don't understand that. So with Haiti, let me argue in the negative in terms of Haiti. Let's just say that Napoleon didn't sell those 15 states. What would that mean in contemporary America? That would mean that in those 15 states, most of them would be French speakers. They wouldn't be American descendants of slaves. They would actually be French descendants of slaves. They would be people like from Guadeloupe or people like from Martinique. They wouldn't have the connection that they would have. Well, what they do have with the Americans right now, they wouldn't have. They would be French colonies, French slaves, and then in contemporary time, they would still be either French subject or French citizens. This is the impact of that purchase. But for Napoleon selling those 15 states, large swaths of land. Louisiana was the first. Louisiana had many slaves on it. Anthony McFall could tell you, but that was a French territory. If Napoleon had not settled or sold those states to Thomas Jefferson, those people would be in contemporary times. They would be French citizens. This is a historical fact that ADOS doesn't like to contend it from time to time. So you have to sometimes give, like, I understand Oni's position, but you have to tip your hat. Since you like to carry the American flag on your back so much, you have to tip your hat to the Haitians, because but for the Haitians, you wouldn't have the ability to carry that American flag on your back. So sometimes when you argue with the ADOS people, they don't understand the historical implications of the Louisiana Purchase. They don't understand that the territories in America wasn't 51 countries or 50 states. It started at 13 colonies on one separate part of the American continent. And but for the interruptions of history, then you would have Spanish slaves who would, in contemporary society, be Spanish citizens. Then you would have French black folks in contemporary society, and then you would have English black folks who would be American in that swath of land. So you have to adhere to the interruptions of history that exist. So when they try to throw these things in, when ADOS try to brag on, oh, we American, we always been here. No. But for the interruptions of history, this is the reason why French slaves became American slaves after the Louisiana Purchase. And that's something to consider when people like to throw these kinds of ideas in your face. So that's what I wanted to point to. But in terms of the 5 coons of history, well, 5 coons, I would say Nelson Mandela is a big friggin' coon and a traitor. Mobutu Sese was a big coon and a friggin' traitor. Many other African leaders, many Caribbean leaders, there's so many. When you're talking about the 21st century, we don't have to even get to America. We have so many in the Caribbean and Africa. And then when you want to get to American contemporary society, we know who the coons are. You have the Tariq Nasheeds, you have the Brotherhood, the Supreme Court justices, people who have political impact and sway. You know, these people are coons and Barack Obama. But I don't have, like I say, people temperamental when it comes to certain things, but you have many of them, too many. And they just say media people, these are people with actual influence to create harm within the black world, whether it's in America or Brazil or Barbados or the Bahamas. So it's too many to mention. But I'll just stop there and let the brothers go.
Appreciate that, Buana. Let me mix it up a bit here. Let me hear from Anthony on at this point. Anthony would say. Anthony, your mic is muted.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I thought I had unmuted it. But hey, before I address the coons, I just want to kind of say, juggling the Buana. Yeah, we trade the French slave master for the American slave master. I don't know who's worse. They both are dirty. You know what I'm saying? Because this American slave master, I don't know too many worse than this bastard. You know what I'm saying? But as far as the coons, oh man, where could we start with the coons, man? Okay, I know one coon that I start with is the coon Moshe Tashambe. Y'all heard of Moshe Tashambe?
Yes, yes,
Moshe Tashambe.
that's
Yeah,
the
in the
Congo.
Congo. Yeah, the one who sold out, our great ancestor Patrice Lumumba. You know what I'm saying? That's one.
Anthony, it's got
Uh,
to be the 21st century. That was in the 1960s. You gotta.
oh, okay. It has to be a 21st century. Okay, all right, okay. I misunderstood it. The 21st century, man. Okay. Well, Barack Obama was a good one. Uh, yeah, Nelson Mandela was a good one. Blaise Compaoré of Burkina Faso. He was probably on the top of my list. Because he's the one who sold out Thomas Sankara. I think it's a toss up between these two men, Hudson Austin and what's his name, and Bernard Court in Grenada, because they the two
Yes,
who
yes, yes.
they conjointly like overthrew Maurice Bishop. You know what I'm saying? And I think it was more so with Hudson Austin, because after the overthrow of Bishop, he laid there and threw Court in jail. So and I think probably my last one would be man, there's so many I could think of, man. I guess I just say Tariq Nasheed, man. Hell, okay. I'll leave it at that.
I appreciate that. Make sure you guys who went already, you'll hang out with us until we do the shout outs afterwards. Black Steel, you said Nelson Mandela is crazy. So Black Steel, what are your thoughts on that? Expand on that, and who are your 21st century coons?
Man, you know what? I want to give Mandela a lot of grace, man, because being locked up in a prison cell on a shark-infested island for 27 years that would break almost any man. I mean, he was a freedom fighter. He was, he went in there as a guerrilla fighter. So I hesitate to call him a coon. I would say they broke him. He probably was broken, but I hesitate, and maybe that's just me. I want to have some grace for my people. So Anthony mentioned my number one coon, which is Barack Hussein Obama. He's probably the most dangerous coon of all time, simply because how the power he had, And Obama was, when Malcolm X talked about the wolf and the fox, Obama was that fucking fox, man. He had your ass digested before you even know what happened, because he's so charismatic. He has the whole biblical, the preacher cadence, all that other stuff. It's really so insidious how Obama moved, man. He got black people cheering on the U.S. war machine. He had black people excited about U.S. imperialism. There's not enough hate directed towards Obama's way. He's an international war criminal. If there was any justice in the world, he would be in the fucking Hague right now for crimes against humanity. On God, as the kids say, on God. Okay, so I say him number one. Number two, of course, OG Clarence Thomas. He never met a civil rights law he didn't hate that he wanted overturned. He's so thorough. He's going back trying to reverse everything. When I'm talking about from, I personally believe if he could, he reverse every Supreme Court case after Brown versus Board of Education. I mean, Loving versus Virginia. All of that shit, he get rid of all of it if he could. Of course, Candace Owens. Candace is a special case because Candace is really just in it for the money, right? So Candace knows what she's doing. She's not stupid. She knows what she did especially when she was in college or high school, whatever the fuck. She's suiting people to get she went to the NAACP because of their racism. So a lot of shit Candace says, she knows what she's doing. I think that she's very intelligent, and which makes her even more dangerous because she's smart. She knows she's about the grift, right? She knew what she was. I think she really hates being black. Period. I think she really just hates being African. Who else? Let me think off the top of my head. I don't want to mention too many celebrities because celebrities are who they are. But I want to talk about people who have power. People who the fuck was that one sheriff? That one black sheriff who was I can't think of his name.
Clark.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Sheriff Clark. Oh yeah, he's hardcore. He's hardcore with his shit. Absolutely. And that one black dude who I can't think of his name either, but he was former military. But he talking about he want to go fight in Ukraine. I can't think of that dude's name. He's a hardcore coon too. Any black person who's willing would be willing to sit up here and put on his fatigue. Somebody who want to fight in Ukraine. Like, bro, we got enough racist white people in the U.S. You can fight them. You don't got to go overseas. You can fight these racist white people here. What's wrong with you? But yeah, definitely Obama, Candace. Of course, I mentioned Clarence and Sheriff Clark and the one dude. Those would be my top 5 biggest coons. But Obama is more dangerous than all of them combined, right? And I think that what the damage Obama does is that because he's so eloquent. He got his little black family, his 2 little black girls or whatnot. It speaks to something within the African American to where they want to be accepted by the society. So Obama was almost our way in to where you had people talking about we lived in a post-racial society. Like, what the fuck? Like, people was really that far gone. It's hard for us to remember from back in 2008, but people was really saying racism was over because Obama was in charge now. It's a sick mindset to have. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Koku, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. I want to just push back a little bit if I can. To my brother Black Steel. Just listen to me for a minute. Okay, I understand that part about Nelson Mandela and like giving him a pass, say he was locked up. But guess what? Robert Sobukwe was locked up too. Well, Robert Sobukwe, to his dying breath, his motto was one settler, one bullet. You'll say, now check me out. Okay, we know. Okay, about Nelson Mandela, we have to think of one thing. To me, okay, Nelson Mandela and Barack Obama are the same man. Listen at me. I'm going somewhere. Okay. Carl, listen at me. Okay, what you just said, Obama, because he was so smooth the way he talked, and he had us believing in what? Post-racial society. Well, guess what? When Nelson Mandela came out and became president, he had South Africans believing in post-racial society, where they created a rainbow flag. You know what I'm saying? Now check this out. Also, what Nelson Mandela did. Now, it came out. Now, he know all of the stuff that happened to black people in South Africa. Okay. But Nelson Mandela did not. Hey, look here, did not address what he did. He made deals, and he made deals with those people, man. Okay, we're gonna let you come out and be president. You're gonna be the face of the government. We're gonna let the ANC come out. But look here, the deal is South Africa is too strategic. I mean, and vital to the Western, in particular America, interests. You know what I'm saying? The space program and all that other stuff, the minerals and everything. Okay, we're gonna let y'all have a little old government, a little a little face government to make it look like black people running stuff. But even under Nelson Mandela's rule, black people own no land, not no land. I mean, at the most, I think it was like whites own 75 to 80% of the land. And I control the economy and all the mineral resource, and they still to this day. Right now, that's what the problem is now. Black people are living in damn near the poverty level now. I was just talking to a sister, the sister I'm telling you on the Moya channel. That's the problem what they having now. That's why it's the xenophobia, because they're looking at Africans from outside of South Africa coming in and starting businesses and doing good when local Africans ain't doing shit. Because it's hard for them. Because guess what? They have no say-so in the economy. So under Nelson Mandela, he agreed to that rule. Okay, we're gonna let you whites continue to control the economy. Who his best friend was? Bill Clinton. Who arrested and shipped Jean-Bertrand Aristide out of Haiti? Bill Clinton. Who did all that bullshit, that behind the scenes bullshit against African people? Bill Clinton. You know what I'm saying? Nelson's best friend. They stood on the podium together, laughing and holding hands and shaking and how everything was over with. How apartheid and all this was over with, when apartheid was never over with. They had a truth and reconciliation council, a meeting going on where they was talking about all of the shit that white people did to the black people in South Africa. And guess what? Didn't hardly nobody go to jail. Okay, let's admit this is what you did. Okay, we're gonna forgive everything. We're gonna squash all this here. And even right now, they got a documentary right now about this brother, this white dude who was in the South African Defense Forces, who he was a hitman. He was going around killing black revolutionaries. I mean, about hundreds and about 1,000 probably. And guess what? He's walking around South Africa right now and got a documentary on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? The Truth and Reconciliation Committee said we're not convicting nobody. We letting everybody. So black South Africans who came from that era, they got to walk around and look at people who tortured them and did all kind of shit to them. You know what I'm saying? And these same people still walking around with the same old white privilege and everything that they always had. Black people in South Africa own nothing. You got the elites, the ANC elites, a few elites who own a little something. The majority of black people in South Africa don't own nothing. And you know what? President Nelson, man, we love Nelson. You know, and you know, he's the grand old man of Africa, but he did not even talk about getting the land back from these people. And even if you go back to the 1940 to the charter in South Africa, all it was an integrationist thing. The ANC was never talking about black liberation. They were talking about integration, us, everybody who live in South Africa, South Africans. It was never a black liberation movement. But so, man, I can't give him no pass, man. I mean, I understand he's been locked up for a long time, but there's a lot of people who was locked up for a long time. He wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one that was locked up. And you know what? And they said, to my dying day, like Robert Zabukwe said, one cell or one bullet. I knock off right there.
Let's let our black seal the water.
That boy brilliant right there. He's a brilliant boy.
I mean, you know what? You bring up good points, man. And I guess because I do want to have some grace for our freedom fight. I know the Nelson Mandela who went into that prison, who went into Robben's Island, is not the same Nelson Mandela that came out of Robben's Island. I think, you know, I look at Mandela as a cautionary tale because, but for even our strongest revolutionaries they have moments of weakness, and I think they capitalized on that. And I think he was afraid of dying in prison. But I can't really argue with none of your points, especially the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. That was some BS. And that's where I first heard about South Africa's nuclear weapons program and their biological weapons program they worked with Israel to help create weapons to kill black people, and you know it's a mess. But Obama, I mean, but to African native world too, Obama he dropped bombs on 7 African countries. Mandela didn't do that. But I understand your point about wanting him to be uh, considered to be definitely a big coon. Well, I don't know when Mandela died, if he gets in the 21st century label or not. But yeah, it's just disappointing sometimes when you hear about some of our black leaders, man. That's why. What's the saying I had from Batman? You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I think many times that's the case with some of our leaders. I'll leave it there.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. I don't think I got to Real Black Gentleman, right? Real Black Gentleman, what say you?
Well, I guess what I was thinking about is like, you know, are we talking about like legitimate black people, or are we talking about like mulatto-ish people? Because I mean, we could really go into like the 21st century, right? Are we gonna like sleep on? I mean, you hate to say it, but like really going out for it. Cause I mean, I could say Paul Biya for real. I would say like if we're talking about black people, I'm talking about Paul Biya every day. What Cameroon is going through, I don't want to go to Cameroon. It seems like it's just not really, it's just, you know what I'm saying, it's backwaterish, and they real, I don't know, like it's just places I don't want to get caught up in, and that's just one place. You got to do, I mean, it's part of me loves a leader who persists over time. And, you know, in spite of, you know what I'm saying, no limits, no term, you know what I'm saying? It's like the people have faith in them, he's going to do it. Then you have these people who just, you know, is empowering. They just empower because, you know what I'm saying, they empower, and they, you know, no one really likes them like that. They really don't like him. And he's just there, and he's just there. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the kind of person who is like right in the middle of Africa, who, if he had sense about him and his people had some sense about him, it'd be a whole lot of like, you know, things going on in the central, like, you know, that core, which is kind of like, you know, kind of like the you know, central, like southwest Africa, right there on the coast, Gabon and all of that. You know what I'm saying? That area with the Equatorial Guinea, right there, that little curve, the Bight Biafra, that area. You know what I'm saying? If he had his wits about him, you know what I'm saying, he'd be, you know, chopping it up with Nigeria. You'll be hearing about a lot of stuff, but you don't hear about a lot of stuff because it's you know what I'm saying, it's brackish there. So like that's that. Now if we're gonna talk about mulatto-ish, you know, Colin Powell did, you know, play the good one to set off, you know what I'm saying, Iraq War. If we're gonna keep it like that, that war was not necessary in any kind of way. The whole like fighting them over there, so we have to fight them over there. You know what I'm saying? That really didn't amount to too much. You know what I'm saying? All that was predicated on the nonsense anyways. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, I can you know, that's just too much. That's that individualism. That's why a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, even Most Def had the song Auditorium with Slick Rick, you know what I'm saying, with Young Iraqi Kid, you know what I'm saying, you know, get out of my country, barking some shit in Arabic. You know, if you've heard that song, Most Def Auditorium with Slick Rick, right? You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be out there. All that is that's why people mad, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like you have, you know what I'm saying, light-skinned Larry over there, you know what I'm saying, the good general, you know what I'm saying, promoting it through the UN, right? You know what I'm saying? But that's one thing. That's 2003, and you got it's like, you know, you almost have to look at it almost like categories of people who like in their own little realm do the coon stuff heavy and influence a lot of people in their own little way to do a lot of cooning out here, and just do the dry cooning, just the off blackness, you know what I'm saying? So like, you know, it's all these people who like is out here, is in the 20th century, is kind of the media. So it's like, but it's some people who's not really in the media that you see. Like that dude, I'll say the dude in Michigan who was the immigrant, Chenge. You know what I'm saying? That's real, that's authentic, you know what I'm saying, gung-hoism. You can't be like that. You can't sit up here and say this is what we need to do, and he's not even from these. That's cooning. That's that doing too much. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna pass the mic.
Can't disagree with that. I appreciate that, RBG. I'll just quickly throw in one that I don't know if anyone will mention. I find Roland Martin to be a huge, well, figuratively and literally, I find him to be a huge coon too, or just a step and fetch it type Negro, bucking his eyes and all that shit too, selling black folks on some bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find him to be a big one. But let's continue down to Oni. I think you're the last person to go here. Oni, what say you? Name one of the top 5 coons of the 21st century and why?
Well, I guess everybody, almost everybody named 5. But so I kind of made my list of 5. Actually 6. But what I'll do is I'll just tell you guys who it is. If I were to just name one, it would be Buhari, right? It would be Buhari. And so I'm gonna probably surprise people because usually I mean I like African Americans obviously, but usually I would mostly name African Americans, and I thought that's what Umar Johnson. No, not mostly name African Americans. I wouldn't, but Umar Johnson mostly named African Americans, and I don't think that's a fair thing to do because if you look at the coons, it's really not like globally, it's not. You know what I mean? Like on a large scale, it's not. So the first person I put is Macky Sall, and that was the earlier president of Senegal. And the reason being is because, like I said, I checked out my podcast earlier, one of my Energy Within, and they were talking about this guy was, I think it was Macky Sall, but they were saying somebody in Senegal, like I thought it was the president of Senegal, who was part of the African Union, trying to get military support from Germany in order to stop the Sahel states, like get the Sahel states with all. So basically, this podcast is probably 2 years ago, and that's when the Sahel states were doing what they were doing, and this guy was part of the military, like was trying to get Germany to be a military buffer against African liberation. So that right there is so him, and obviously his successor, the current president of Senegal, I don't remember his name, but he's also a piece of work because he's also against the AES, our independent states, if you will, right? Obviously, you got to go down to Kenya and you see Ruto. Ruto is a way bigger coon than all the people in America, honestly. Maybe not all of them, but a good number of them. And so Ruto is there. Obviously, just recently, sent their troops over to Haiti. But beyond that, he's just an American puppet, more or less, right? Fortunately, there was a pushback against him, but not sufficient enough. Obviously, Tinubu and Buhari, they messed up Nigeria. Nigeria has good potential to be the African superpower. And so does Ghana. Ghana probably has greater potential, honestly, right? But not potential, but greater possibility. But Nigeria is just under the worst leadership in Africa. And then finally, Paul Biya. I think RBG mentioned him, but the Cameroonian president who was there for 42 years, and recently he was saying he wants to run again. Oh, and then I guess if I had to name an American, it would be Jay-Z. I'm sorry, Jay-Z. Jay-Z and his freaking wife Beyonce. I know this is right to her, but both of them are probably the biggest coons in America. They're not usually considered the biggest coons in America, but like the way they sold out African people and just like on top of the particularly Jay-Z being a bad character and Beyonce being that colorist, yada yada yada. If I had to choose an American, it would be like my least favorite would be Jay-Z. So those are them. But really, I would say you got to look at the leadership in Africa. You can't I think we should look at the leadership of Africa because they really have a lot of lives on the line. And as bad as Jay-Z is, and as influential as Jay-Z is, he really doesn't have, you know what I mean? He doesn't have that authority. that a Ruto has, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, as Oni just said, that's it. Pretty much it for the show tonight. Thanks to you guys who stayed and hung around so we could get through all 5 topics. I know we went a little long. But before we go, I'd like everyone to give a positive shout out that they've seen something positive in the African world or something positive that happened with them, etc. Let me start with Black Steel.
Oh man, I was hoping you wouldn't call me first. I really had to think about it for a minute. Shout out to the show, man. Y'all are doing positive stuff every day, every weekend, man. Shout out to Bitter Medicine. That's my shout out. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming through, and again, condolences to you and the family. That was Black Steel. Let me hear from RBG. RBG, what would you like to shout out this week?
Just want to shout out, just to shout out the people, shout out Africa, you know what I'm saying? Shout out Black people worldwide. Just a lot of things going on. We just have to, you know what I'm saying, to the best of our ability, just, be level-headed to the best as you can, you know what I'm saying? Take stock of opportunities as they come. And, drink some water, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you drink some water. Just make sure you keep drinking water. And, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling you what, you know what I'm saying? I'm hyped with Africa. I think Africa's going to get it together. I think that, it's not, and I'll say it's not going to be an even process. I don't think it's going to be United States to Africa. I think that peoples are going to start talking to each other and things are going to start happening. And I slowly but surely see that happening. It's going to be very, very live. I'll say that. It's going to be very, very live. And, I think that those of us who, I think of myself, I'm not really on the front lines, but I see what's going on. And all I can try to do is try to at least not be a detriment, you know what I'm saying? To try to make sure I see what these lines are and to really recognize, I mean, that's what I'll say. Just, I believe you know what I'm saying? Sometimes there are steps backwards, but that's not the end all. A step backwards isn't the end. You know what I'm saying? Just try to get back on stable ground. And then maybe you can go ahead and take the opportunity to go forward. I say that's what Africa's doing. And, you know what I'm saying? Big up to Mama Africa. I'm going to pass the mic.
Mama Africa, I like that. Thank you for that, RBG. Only would you like to shout out this week?
I mean, usually I the easy route, I would shout out the AES or I'll shout out the Sahel states. But right now, I guess I'll shout out Takru Tori because they supported a black business today. Yeah, so that's a cool thing. but other than that, no, obviously shout out to the chat. It was pretty good participation. I liked it. I was participating too. And of course, shout out to Koku because like I said, I was bored earlier. I was just waiting for 8 o'clock. Not only was this good entertainment, but he also prompted us to put some other channels that I might probably listen to when I have an opportunity. So, shout out for that. Shout out for this opportunity and the network and all that kind of stuff. But of course, shout out to Burkina Faso, Mali, and those good leaderships. That good leader, the good leadership in Africa. That's it. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Anthony. What would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, man. I'd like to give a shout out to our ancestors first of all, and our African ancestors, and I'd like to give out a shout out to Africa. Period. African people. Period. Man, all over the world, wherever we at, on the continent or in the diaspora. Man, I want to give a shout out to Brother Koku and Bitter Medicine Podcast, and my condolences, Carl, for your loss in the family, man. And I want to give a shout out to my brother Nan Obafemi, man. You know, Obafemi, and he you know, he has a clothing brand, man, called 720 Sagewell, man. I bought a shirt from him, man. I got a shirt this weekend. We posted it on IG. Did you get a chance to see it, Coco?
No, I haven't been on IG in a little while. I'll check it out tonight.
Yeah. No, I'm banned over there, but he sent it over there. Yeah, and we got a shirt called African Centered, man. You know, he got some nice gear over there, man. But overall, man, just like shout out to us, man. As black people, us coming together and talking and having a good dialogue, man. Peace and blessings to everybody, man.
Same to you, Anthony. Thank you for coming through as always, and thanks for bringing through your sister-in-law last week too. I know it's a little contentious when she was on, but hopefully she saw the value in the show all the same. Last but not least, Buana, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yes, first of all, let me shout out brothers like Anthony. Anthony is a brilliant brother from Louisiana, and I am happy to be in his presence. I think that I learned a whole lot of things from just even listening from the brother. Listening to the brother. He's a very, very erudite brother. Very erudite. And if you have time to listen to the things that he says, you know, you will learn a whole lot. Shout out to all the other brothers. RBG, Oni, congratulations for finding your life partner, brother. You know, congratulations to in doing the right thing, trying to, I guess, making her an honorable woman. You know, I think that you should read Islam for Dummies. Yes, take the time and do that. Invest some money, cheap dollars, and invest in that book, and really try to get some grounding and understandings about your life partner. But congratulations to you in choosing to take it to the next step and decide to marry your sister. Also, you know, shout out to Jamaica. Jamaica has found oil, discovered oil, and hopefully that wouldn't turn into a mess. Hopefully that they are able to organize it well, and they are able to benefit that country, them and Guyana. So we wish and hope the best for them nations in moving forward and doing the things that they're trying to do with themselves. And once again, you know, I got to give credit and shout out to the Better Medicine podcast for educating. I call this type of channel edutainment. We educate and we also entertain. So shout out to the brothers who come, Black Steel, all the brothers who made their contributions. And even though from time to time we don't get the audience like the other channels, we are a necessary force on YouTube in terms of the education level, in terms of informing our people. We don't choose to disparage our people. We don't choose to misinform our people or disinform our people. We choose to give them the best information possible to use as tools in this world, so they will be competitive. So shout out to Koku for providing this platform for the brothers, educated and intelligent brothers, to inform the Black world in terms of going forward, the things that they need to consider. But I'll leave it there.
Congratulations.
Appreciate all you guys.
Congratulations to on the marriage thing.
Oh yeah, okay, good stuff, Anthony. Yeah, congrats to Oni for real. I didn't get my congratulations, so shout out to Oni for that, for certain. I like to switch it up personally. I want to shout out this sister right here. I know a lot of you aren't basketball or sports guys, but Maya Moore, they retired her jersey this evening. This is to me as a basketball, this is probably the greatest female basketball. I know people talk about Cheryl Miller and all that, but her career was awesome, and she cut it short to be an activist for prison reform. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, yes, I think she did marry and have a child for a guy who she helped get off of a lengthy prison sentence, if not death row. I guess I wasn't sharing the screen. Sorry. No, not Brittany Griner. Get out of here. But Maya Moore, shout out to her for her career and being a great player. We should be back next week, 8 p.m. to 11 or so. You know, next week I'll try to end the show at 11. Shout out to everyone who participated on the panel tonight. Shout out to you guys in the chat. The chat was real spirited with the few of you who had these extensive conversations. Check out all the other shows on KWAZ Radio. Reach out to High Charlie Podcast. Get them back on track. Reach out to the matron. Haven't heard from the matron in a little while. And then check out all the other shows. Support each of the shows too. Hit the Cash App, etc. You guys be good until next week. I'll see you later. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.